hold on.
That's true.
Yeah.
Hey, we're here.
Oh, I can't
Bitches.
see me. Let me see how I
Yeah.
look. Okay, I look good.
You're looking good. Yeah.
You
we could've
always
told
look
you.
good. I already told you.
I could do
Yeah.
this all day.
No.
Guys, welcome to Box Office Showdown. There's nothing to show down about. There's only one major film that has been released this week, and that is Avengers End Game. Okay, yeah, we're like
Yeah.
spoiling,
And our
spoiler warning
Faces
everywhere.
are still melting off.
Our faces are melting off. Again, guys, if you can't read, if you don't already know, if we haven't told you enough.
If Migdalia's head is blocking the spoiler alert. Just...
Right? This is a spoiler-filled discussion. It's fair game in the chat. It's fair game whatever we say. If you haven't seen this film and you care about spoilers, leave now. This is your first, or
Get
actually
out.
your 80th
Yeah,
and last
leave now
warning.
or
Get
forever
out.
hold your peace.
Yes. Thank you, Black Wing.
Oh,
Lights, camera, with morphine,
oh,
action.
there's somebody in there.
I love how excited you guys are to
Have you seen
start
Endgame?
You've seen
thinking
Endgame,
about the
right?
film.
Because we're
Ah, get out of here, sir!
Oh no! We might
my
have to
God.
pause because, of course, we are filming here at the Comic
Comic
Bug over in Manhattan Beach, and we still have lovely people over at the Game Hub.
I gave him a warning. They got the warning.
I know, but he hasn't. We don't want to ruin. We don't want to be
All
that
right, well,
guy.
first we can just say, like, as we already said, we all liked the film at the very least.
Yes.
Some of us loved it, and some of us are lame. I'm just kidding.
I just said
kidding.
that my first initial reaction is I liked Infinity War better. But I have to see Endgame again because I just got confused at some parts. Because it's 3 hours and it's a lot to take
Yeah,
in.
and we've
it's a
already
spectacle.
been fighting about timelines, so we don't even know.
Oh yeah, when
we
we're
don't
off
even know
air,
what we saw.
Everyone's like, "This is what Bruce said, and this is what he meant, and this is how this works."
Yeah.
And time displacement, and the
ancient
ancient
one,
one,
yeah.
still
Oh, I
played by
love
Tilda
her.
Swinton.
Still, unfortunately, no. just
Oh yeah, spoiler. She's in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many cameos
Oh my
that
God.
I
So
did
what else
not
can we talk
expect.
about that isn't a spoiler? While the dude, we
Well,
are actually
Our
yeah.
snackage is sponsored today by Stephanie. And somebody called her Stephanie Deckelmeyer, which I found hilarious.
How dare you?
So she gave us like little.
Her-
I feel
her
like
last name
I'm
is way
in
better
elementary
than-
school,
than
but this
Deckelmeyer.
is amazing. Our diets are a horrible
I'm all
fun
hopped
dip.
up on Pixie Sticks
Yeah.
and Ring Pops.
Yes.
And look, I got. Oh
know
my
who
God,
I am.
guys!
You
She
don't
put a
know where
Reese's
I
piece
am,
in here,
and
man.
You'll never see me
She put a Reese's cup in here.
Reese's
Oh,
cup.
that's the
And we have
best.
a rubbery infinity.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
My friend brought like a whole like huge ass like actual gauntlet to the movie. Yes, he brought his huge ass and the actual gauntlet.
You've got a huge ass.
Yeah, that Thanos sized gauntlet.
Okay.
Speaking of,
Well, I do want to go ahead to everybody in the chat. If you guys have seen this movie, don't be a dick and be posting spoilers online. But
That's
also,
fair.
if you are in this chat,
give
and
us
if
all
you
the
everything
spoilers
you
here
out
in
if
the
you
right
chat.
now.
yeah, if
Air
you
it all
haven't
out.
seen
Air it
this
all out.
movie, get out now. Okay. So everybody needs to go. Is everybody in this room?
All right, he's leaving.
Yes, he's off. He's
Goodbye,
off.
sir.
Once he audibly shuts the door.
Where do we want to start with? in
Well,
this?
I would say that, so the question on everybody's mind, I guess, maybe everybody's mind, but were the stones destroyed when Thanos did his snap? Because we saw the smoky glove, and no one knew, are the stones still in play? So the answer is no.
No.
They weren't
Yes.
destroyed. He actually did destroy them on his own after the fact.
He used the stones to destroy the stones.
He used the
which is
stone to
interesting.
destroy the stones. So that cold open, though, that shit
That was a surprise.
dark.
That was a surprise. That was probably, if I would go ahead and
Hawkeye?
say probably the biggest surprise of not. Are we talking about Hawkeye?
No,
or
no,
are we
no.
talking about
So
Thanos?
Hawkeye
Thanos.
was the cold open,
Okay,
wasn't it?
Hawkeye was the cold open. So
And then it went to credits. Then it
Yeah.
went to the,
And
then
then
it
it
cuts
was
to 5 years
yeah,
later.
then it
Okay,
was-
never mind.
okay, yeah.
After the code open.
It was
Yeah,
Hawkeye,
so
then
his
Tony in
family.
space.
Can I tell
and
you,
then going to
every
Thanos.
single showing I've been to, even the one that we were in, and we've said before, we went to a press screening, there was only 20, 30 people in this relatively, mid-sized theater, about 120 or so seats.
Yeah.
And when Hawkeye's with his family, and then it turns out that his whole family has been dusted,
Yes.
people, audible gasps.
Yeah.
And no joke, people just oh, what you doing?
Just listen to us.
Okay.
Because we are that exciting.
There
Okay.
was so many oh God, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
What happened at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp
Yeah.
when they panned over
Yeah.
to the
But
three of them
this
and they were
one was
gone.
way more haunting. The fact that he
Right.
doesn't see it happening is it's got to be one thing to be horrified by watching somebody just disintegrate before you, but to
But he
literally
didn't.
turn your
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
and not see where your loved ones have gone, but just know that they are just gone. They're
Yeah,
out
it's
of here,
heartbreaking.
and that for me is probably maybe like I don't know if I can really compare it to any other intro of an MCU
You're
movie.
a big Jeremy Renner.
I love Jeremy Renner.
When he first appeared on screen, I like snort laughs because I was looking over at Toni because I knew she was like screaming.
Renner gives me tingles and jingles. I can't help it.
Ooh,
He just
Probably when he popped later in the film, though, you're
Oh
like,
my God.
even I thought he was like, oh, he's
I
got
wanted
no
to
dark
know,
edge.
why
to him.
did he switch from arrows to samurai sword suddenly?
Well,
Just
let's try
'cause he
to
was,
go-
like, in Japan,
let's-
or because
Let's try to go beat by beat
Okay,
first.
fine.
So the cold open, yes, shocking. Can your conversation not be louder than ours? Yeah, so the cold open, very shocking, very haunting. And then we cut to Toni in space and Nebula, which was actually a surprising, fun dynamic with a lot of chemistry.
it was much
So
more
cute.
humorous than I expected.
Yeah, they were playing paper football. And of course, who appears to save Toni from space because they have 48 hours of air left or something?
not
like
even
that?
like till the morning. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
hours of
First
air.
thing I was correct about.
Big giant glow
Actually,
on Tony's face.
Yes.
And who appears but Captain Marvel. So what happens is they don't actually put that scene that we saw at the end credits of Captain Marvel into Endgame at all.
Right. They
That's
just expect
basically
you to
its
know
own
what happened.
scene.
And
yeah.
furthermore, they expect you to know that they then sent Carol to get Tony, right?
Wait, is that?
That's what
Yeah,
I
I
assume
guess
happened.
that's what
Like,
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
They
sense.
met with Carol. They're like, hey, we need to find
Because
Tony.
they knew who she was for the most part.
They didn't say hi, at least.
Yeah. And then, because otherwise, why would she have,
She just drops them off.
I just feel like on her way, like she saw them, like kind of stranded.
hey,
But that
there's
makes
people
sense.
stranded.
And then she leaves.
And
Yeah,
then she leaves.
exactly.
Bye. So yeah, she rescues Nebula and Tony is just like emancipated. Like it was.
I mean, he's been
and
on
pissed.
rations for like 3 weeks,
Yeah.
almost a
Here's my
month.
question. Did Nebula need oxygen to breathe? Because I feel like she was doing fine.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I feel like she was just gonna, like,
in
he was
space
gonna
in
die.
Guardians,
Yeah,
right?
and she was just gonna, like, chill there watching
I don't
him.
think we've ever seen her in deep space where,
Right.
like, she would, like, be able to survive like that.
But it's like there was a lot of focus on him getting
Okay, well,
weaker,
for
and her
example,
just kinda taking care
in
of him.
first Guardians of the Galaxy, they were saying that, like, Gamora's cybernetic upgrades allow her to survive in deep space longer than a normal human, or a normal, just, organic being. I have to imagine it would be the same,
for
and maybe
Nebula,
even
yeah.
a little more,
she's more
durability.
cybernetic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, she obviously eats.
Right.
She does, but
I'm sure,
She
like,
eats, but she doesn't.
eventually
It doesn't
she
seem
would've-
like she needs to eat.
Yeah, I
because
guess that would be
that's
like-
why she gave Tony.
it's
Yeah.
never been defined clearly. So
Yeah, that's
I'm-
true.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that was actually a cool scene. And then Tony gets back and he sees Cap and he is just fucking pissed. Which I really liked that it wasn't like, oh well, we're brushing our hands over
Right.
this one. There's no blowback from what happened all the way in Civil War a few movies ago. No, I mean he had like valid arguments, and of course some of them were just emboldened by emotions that he was going through and being near death and everyone disappearing. And them not actually being a team for most of Infinity War. Cap just took it and he was like, whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to not to
It was a
take
rough
him
scene.
seriously, but to fight with Tony when he's in such bad shape to begin with. So it's like I'm
But
gonna
what
let him
really
get it
is
out.
his
and
argument?
then-
I mean, he was kind
Yeah.
of right. Cap was like, I'm not doing this because I've seen something like this before. But Civil War. That's the best thing about Civil War. It's like both sides are right and both sides are wrong.
Yeah.
They have different arguments, and for the most part, they needed Cap during what happened in Infinity War, and they didn't come together soon enough.
Right. But it made a lot of sense for them to not have healed that breach yet.
Yeah.
He abandoned
yeah.
them at the end of Civil War, and that's why they weren't together and at their full strength come Infinity War. So there was a little bit of blowback, but it's not how Cap's fought, and of course, Tony knows this at the end of the day, as we see 5 years later. So that happens. We see Pepper there without heels.
That was
because
so beautiful.
Gwyneth Paltrow cannot wear heels around Robert Downey Jr. And
so
she has more scenes and more. She's got a thicker, storyline in this
Yeah,
film
she
than
had a
she
lot
did
of
since
emotional
Iron
heavy,
Man.
yeah, a lot
3,
of the emotional heavy
Iron Man
lifting
2.
of the story was
Exactly.
Pepper. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the beginning of the film? Tony
Are we
Cap,
moving past that point and talking about what happens after
the 5 years? Oh yeah, so
Okay.
the Thanos thing. Yeah, so they have the plan to get Thanos, and I'm just saying, this was freaking crazy. Like
Yeah.
Thor. Speaking of being pissed, still Thor was just not having it.
Yeah. I listen, if you would have told me that this movie would have began with the death of Thanos,
That was the
what?
most unexpected part,
What?
for sure.
And like literally there was a moment where I was like, is this for real happening, or is this like a dream sequence? Is this just like
Or is
what?
he gonna regrow his
Yeah,
head? Like
yeah.
in Men in
I
Black?
didn't know. So
got a super
oh,
chat.
hey.
I was expecting a scene of Thor getting in shape.
Do we want to talk
again.
about that yet? Or
Not
do we
yet.
wanna-
We'll
okay.
continue your
Save
thought.
our talk
But thank
for
you,
that,
Batusi.
But we totally agree. Or I totally agree with you, Batusi.
I was very surprised by that, but
Yeah.
we will talk about that in a minute. Yeah, so I think, you know, they leave the compound, they go to the garden, as it's called. They find Thanos, and he's like,
He's making some soup.
Oh my
and
God,
soup
yeah.
gets into
watching
horse
that
soup.
movie again, like on a repeat viewing, and understanding that, like, oh, he's not only just like, you know, he's like meandering, and it's like, oh, you just think that he's being leisurely and just enjoying his retirement. No, he's
Enjoying his
damaged.
retirement.
He's injured. He's severely injured. And it's because you find out that he's destroyed the Infinity Stones. He's used the stones to go ahead and just reduce them to atoms. And it's just too much for them to bear, because they're just like, well, then shit, we're just shit out of luck here.
Yeah.
We have nothing to do.
And do you think he was still like kind of mourning Gamora? Like he still
Oh,
felt
yeah.
like he sacrificed
Oh, yeah.
something?
I
to
guess
get
he
what
felt like,
needed?
well, no, I think if you think about it, you know, sensibly, and you're just like, what could possibly happen if these stones are just here? Either I'm going to go ahead and further affect this world, when all I wanted to do was go ahead and just do the one thing. I just had one goal. I already achieved it. What could I possibly do with that? Like, possibly undo all the work I just did. Let me go ahead and destroy these. And not only that, but like, what if somebody comes for me? It's obviously not beyond the realm of possibility for the Avengers to show up. So yeah, I think it made total sense. And I also figured out that, we're going to talk about this later, but the death of Thanos actually closes up a nice little loophole that I thought was happening later in the movie. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
But yeah, I was totally surprised. I just was like, that's just... this movie was so unexpected in a lot of ways, and that was the biggest one where I just realized, like, oh, they're not fucking around.
Yeah.
They're not just going to go ahead and just paint by the numbers and fill in
he
the beats.
chopped
Like,
his head
yeah,
off,
chop his
and they
fucking
cut,
head off.
Like Ned Stark. It was like right at the
Yeah.
last second, and then
And
shit
I
rolled.
think,
and he
There was
turned around
alien
and was
blood,
like,
man. There was
Almost as surprising
alien
to
blood.
me as him getting his head chopped off was when he told Nebula, like, oh, maybe I was too harsh on you. And I was like, oh, wow. That was something.
And then Thor was like, enough
Yeah,
of this
I don't care about
bullshit,
that. But it's
and-
like, that does point to him missing Gamora. Like, he's lost one daughter, then he realizes.
I
like,
don't
maybe,
know. I think
you know.
that part was like emotional manipulation, like him.
I
To
think
do what, though?
You know, I think if you're just an old man at the end of your life and you know that's
to
that's
stand
what's
up for him, maybe.
But she had already done it.
yeah.
She had already done
No,
it.
I think that's what happens to old men at the
Yeah.
end of their lives. That they're just like, yeah, maybe I did F up. Maybe, was it worth it for me to lose not only my favorite daughter, but now this other daughter that was nothing but loyal to
Because they
me?
Right.
both obviously
Yeah.
so cared about him.
Yeah.
And whether
Yeah.
that's like a Stockholm syndrome thing
Definitely
or
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
Like,
not.
even after his head was
Separate
chopped off and she was sitting there like, oh, Dad. And I was like, honey, please. But
Well, even Gamora, who like straight up hated him, like
Yeah.
unequivocally, she's still like broken
Yeah.
up about the possibility of killing him. So I'm sorry, I'm opening up my Kit Kat.
Exactly.
Sorry.
But
yeah.
for me, it was also like really, like, it was a really good scene, like tense and surprising, but also so frustrating to watch because it's like he's sitting there like, oh, I've done such a great thing, like, oh, everyone should be so grateful to me, like, and then
I don't know if it was read like that or was supposed to be put out like that.
I mean,
he was like, "This is what I had to do,
yeah,
and
but he
I
feels
don't
like,
regret
and we
it."
know that he feels like people should be grateful to him for what he did. So the fact that he thinks he's so right, and then it's like, you know, all you can do is scream at him like, you killed trillions of people, and he literally does not give a shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's so,
Well, he cares, but he just thinks that the good outweighs the bad. Where it's
Right.
like, I killed trillions in order to save trillions others.
What is that regular quote? I don't know. You've sacrificed one to save. You sacrificed a few to save. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like
the good
that.
of
For the
many
good of many, but,
outweigh
like,
the,
of course,
the good of the few.
Yes.
you know, it's not happening. But yeah.
And
Going
to
zero
that
hours.
point, yeah, so Thor chopped his head because he said he destroyed the stones. They don't believe him. They're like, stop lying, da da da. And he's just like, pow. And that just leads into his PTSD because he did like a Star-Lord type of thing where it's like.
Well, wait.
And
we
you
gotta
see,
go-
if you
wait.
see everybody's reactions to him chopping
Are
off
we
his
going
head,
to
it's
that
like,
point, or
what?
are we going to 5 years later, where we're
We're
talking
gonna go to
about-
5 years
Okay.
later,
Where we
but
entered an extended episode of The Leftovers.
Okay.
wait, explain that.
That's what 5 years later was, an episode of The Leftovers.
Yeah, I was like 5 years.
and it's like,
later.
what do we do now
The
that
audience
they're gone?
was just
The
completely.
names
I
of
don't know
the
about.
things.
I didn't expect that time jump like that
Yeah.
either. I thought it was gonna start 5 years later.
I was like, this. Okay. all right, this is just where we're
But
gonna
like,
be.
yeah. But we knew we had to get it at some point. We knew we were going to
Which
end up
also
by
plays
years
into
later.
the future of MCU, which I have a lot of high hopes for. So
Sure.
we'll talk about that at the
So
end.
5 years later, of course, of the snap, I don't feel like the world was as affected as I think it should have been for 5 years. 5
They
years
didn't
without
have
half
the
the population.
Mets, okay?
If that's not a tragedy.
Right.
No, but my biggest complaint of this movie is that we see so little of how the world is affected.
Right.
We
Right.
see bits
Exactly.
and pieces. We
Right.
see the grief counseling scene where Steve is now a grief counselor. We see the parts where
And we got
Scott
our first
later on in
canon
the movie.
gay character in the MCU.
Yeah,
That's
which was
crazy.
okay. Like it
22
took 11 years.
movies in, and this guy with no name. This guy with no name has a boyfriend.
Yeah,
But anyway.
yeah. Joe Russo has a boyfriend. And we see bits and pieces, but I'm like, my question was like, are kids still going to school? Like, people are obviously going to work, but is it like, what does that look like? What is, just normal everyday sort of things? Like, how does that happen? And I didn't need like an extended, huge, like 5-minute scene, but
Right.
just something like, somebody on the news saying like, 5 years since the, what do they
that
call
could've
it?
Maybe the
part of-
Dow.
What do they call it?
That
Does
could've
everybody
been
on
part of
Earth know Thanos?
Natasha's little like thing that she was doing with all the people. Like maybe
Yeah.
one of them could actually be doing something.
Yeah, because
for-
it's very insulated. All
Yeah.
we see is how the Avengers deal
Exactly.
with the problem in front of
Or
them.
how maybe it
I
bettered
would've-
the world, like climate
Did
change.
it? Right.
Yeah.
Did it at all?
Yeah, like I would have loved something more where it just would have been a more macro view of like, all right, so this is what's happened. Obviously, there's memorials. The streets are even on in suburban San Francisco, they're mostly barren. Like, okay, but there's nobody in around the Statue of Liberty to actually deal with all these ships that have just managed
Yeah.
to find their way to shore. Like, really? Like,
staying in
how
there.
many people are left in New York? Like, we don't. 50% of all living beings in the universe. Does that mean that some planets were more affected than others? Does that mean that maybe 60% of our population or even 70% of our population is gone, but it's somehow out, the numbers across.
Asia's fine.
No, but it's like we don't know. We don't. All we know is like 50% of living beings in the world or in the galaxy, in the universe. Like,
But
how
also
many
we
of us
know-
are still left? Like, what does that mean?
We know that overpopulation is a problem in a lot of sectors of the world, and it would have been good to have a good, definitely in New York. It would have been good to have a devil's advocate of things of like what happens in the positive, so that at the end we're like, well,
and the only thing that
was
we
he
get about
right
that is
after
when
all?
Steve says like, "Oh, I saw some humpback
was
whales
not
in
right.
Hudson."
Oh yeah,
And it's like-
you got a little bit of there.
Okay, that's it. But I'm
But
like,
speaking of like that scene, and Blackwing mentioned it too. When Okoye said that there was that earthquake underwater, did anyone think that we're getting a Namor movie eventually? Like, is that a hint about
I didn't-
Atlantis?
I didn't really tie it like that.
I mean, that would be a very, very.
You might be right. You might be
very-
Like
Very- Come up with
otherwise,
that
what was?
theory.
I mean, I'm not the only one because obviously Blackwing also thought
Yeah.
about it.
That would be a
But-
very deeply embedded Easter egg if that's what it ended up.
Because like it seems
Means-
kind of random. Like, oh, there's an earthquake under the water. Go take care of it. No, I will not. Oh, okay. Thank
Yeah.
you for that. Other than to
And now let's talk hairstyle. So, of course, to note the 5-hour time jump, we have Natasha just growing out her blonde hair. Okay, she can't buy hair dye now. And we have Carol with her lesbianist haircut.
Oh my God, I love it. I loved her
living her
haircut,
best
which
life.
was such a great shout out to.
The comic.
Yeah, that was great because that's what everyone was like. Well, why doesn't she look like the way that she does in the comic? And then it's like, no,
Because
she
Brie
will.
Larson doesn't
Don't
look that
worry.
great with that.
Don't
haircut.
worry. We're gonna. No, she looks great. How dare you?
I thought she
no.
looked good.
I thought
she
she
looked
looked
good.
great.
Yeah.
I
That's
loved
because you
it.
saw her from far away the whole time.
No,
Oh,
she
but
looked
Black
great.
Panther. I don't think he'll
loved
have his
it.
own film, but if he could be like a villain or an anti-hero in a Black Panther film, I would like that.
Yeah.
There you go.
But they also gave Natasha a lot of the emotional weight as well to carry, and she's feeling bad what happened to Hawkeye, and she's
What
pretty
happened
much
to
the leader
Hawkeye?
of the team, I would say.
Yeah. Like a very what is it? Like a very reluctant team. Like they're like, I guess.
Yeah, whoever's left in the compound, because Cap is kind of gone. He comes in and out. Of course, Tony is completely left. He's like living on their little rustic ranch farm kind of thing.
Good for him.
With Pepper and his daughter.
He's got a daughter. Did anybody catch the callback where before he leaves, Pepper in Infinity War, he's like, I dreamt that we had a kid,
Yes, yep.
and we named him after your weird uncle. What was his name? Morgan. And I just was like, oh you did the
did-
thing.
they
And which
did name
does
her
bring up the
Morgan.
question, like, was Pepper pregnant when he left? Because how old is she? I don't know, or if that was just something that they were
I
just
think
like
they said 4. I
that
think
she's
she
4.
says- they
Okay,
said she was
so
4.
So she.
so Pepper could have been pregnant
Yeah, she
whenever
could've
he left in the
Right.
events of Infinity War. Okay, that could be cool.
That is like a thing, like in Eastern countries, they have like conception dreams. And
Yeah.
Sometimes the father has them. So.
Well, I mean, I think like every other family I've ever met, where it's like I dreamt of fishes. That
Yeah,
means
exactly.
that you're
It's pregnant. Yeah.
like-
Yeah.
But yeah,
But speaking of all those things, like Natasha being the leader,
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting how every character, at least of like the main 6, had sort of like their arc like telegraphed. You know,
Mm.
so you have like Natasha feeling like she has to hold on to this because it's all she has in her life, right? She's
Mm-hmm.
only got the Avengers, like that's her family, that's what she was living for.
Mm-hmm.
So then, of course, she dies to get them back.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you've got Steve, who suddenly, like 2 movies later, just constantly staring at his locket of Peggy, like, God, I miss her. Even though his 2 best friends just died, he's like, no, gotta look at Peggy's locket.
I mean-
which I mean, not like it's out of
Yeah.
character. I like it because
It's
in
too.
the end,
It was
he's
way
gonna
too
go-
forced in this film. I'm sorry.
I
I'm
don't.
not the Peggy Steve shipper that everyone else is.
because you don't believe in love.
I believe in love. I believe in Buffy and Angel, Fitz and Olivia.
What?
Okay.
Fitz and
So
Olivia?
Yes.
So abusive relationships.
All right,
Wow.
girl. All right, that's
Girl, we gotta
fine.
talk later.
That's fine.
Okay, wow. No, I think
It's from Scandal. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
At one point,
They
Olivia
are-
compares them to Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings.
Oh,
Okay,
because
God.
they were in an argument.
Oh,
All right, we're not getting into this.
God.
Different
Wow.
show. Oh my God. Anyway.
that's just no.
The point is, I believe in love. I believe in Pam and Jim and Fitz and Olivia and Buffy and Angel, but not
Abusive
Peggy and
relationships.
Steve. Listen, okay, the first movie they were fine, whatever. One dance, they were together for 2 weeks. I mean, give me a break. What is this, Twilight? Like
Twilight.
And yeah, that's another weird thing.
They went through the entire war together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
Whatever.
long time. It was a long time.
Yeah. It wasn't
I
just
don't want
2
to hear it.
weeks.
I don't feel the chemistry. I
But
have to
that's-
feel the
yeah.
chemistry.
Even if you don't,
Do you
like,
not
that's
believe
acceptable.
in-
You don't have to like subjective, but
Yeah.
it's subjective. You don't like
Yeah.
it, you don't like it. That's totally fine.
I guess.
But I do.
I know what the script wants me to feel, and I know what the script is trying to tell me. But what I see on screen, no, it's neither here nor there.
But okay. Even that weird I'm attracted to your niece thing, like we didn't really buy into that. 'Cause
No,
it
we
was
did not.
like,
We
okay,
did
it's you're just
Please, Nagata.
We got a Sharon.
I just
Tate
kind of
over
felt
here.
like, oh, you're like, it's like when you meet someone after like the big first like love of your life, and you're like, I can stand to be around you. That's what it felt like to me. Like, it's like, yeah, I'll go
I
on a
wouldn't
few
have done
dates
that
with you.
Natasha then. Come on.
Because
She's a lot more
she
sexier.
was-
listen, listen. I have so many
They
things
would've
to
did
say
each
about
other. Let's get
Natasha.
real.
I have so many things to say about
Maybe they
Natasha. And the thing that I also feel that is missing from this movie is the comment of how nobody on the Avengers team, outside of Tony in Iron Man 2, nobody sees her as just a sexual object, which is so different of how most people in the world engage with her because she's just a sexpionage expert.
That's true.
And I feel like, especially with Barton, where it's like, now to not only find out not only are they not together,
Right,
but
he's
they're
married
like
with kids.
but
And she's
she's
like the
an active
godmother.
member
Yeah.
of the family, and
Yeah.
they're named a whole child after her. So it's not just like, oh, here's my friend that I
named a
hang
whole
out
child
with.
after her.
Like no, they're deep into it, and I feel like in order to make her like the love interest of Steve is just like that would have been even more unbelievable, and it's just like
Even more
there's-
unbelievable than Natasha and Bruce.
That was horrible.
Come on.
That was
No.
disrespectful to me. that was.
That didn't bother me just
That
because
was
it
so
doesn't take up
bothered.
a whole lot of time. If
It took up a whole movie. Are you
It took
kidding
up
me?
her
A whole
storyline
movie.
in that movie.
That
Okay.
was the plot of Avengers Age of Ultron.
and in total runtime, it's like 10 minutes of a 2-hour movie.
10
It's
minutes, I
not
did
a
not
whole
need
lot of
it.
movie.
10 minutes, I
It's
want
not
that.
a lot of movie. Go back and watch that movie and actually compare the amount of time those people are actually on screen together. And it's like, it's 10 minutes. It
Tony
didn't bother
loves
me.
love.
At the Tony loves.
I'm not offended by it, and I don't want to be in an abusive relationship like Olivia and Fitz. Like, so
Oh my god!
I said it.
Come
that
on.
relationship, scandal
That
is
not
garbage.
abusive.
Scandal is
not
garbage. Scandal is garbage.
Scandal-
I
okay,
binge watched that
no.
shit. It's garbage.
I have a lot of
Anyways.
great couples on Grey's Anatomy and Scandal, and
I totally agree though with Josh that the worst thing that
They're
they
trying
did
to come out my neck
was
over
have
here.
him never speak about Betty again. Every time. That was
Yeah.
another reason I was like, Betty is the love of your life. Shut your
Yeah.
face, Bruce.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I feel personally
Anyways.
attacked right now.
Oh.
What were we talking
all
about? We were talking about Tony Stark being on the farm and having
Anyway.
a child, and then
Okay,
There-
I was saying that I felt like everyone's of the main cast stories were kind of telegraphed, but it was not in a bad way. Although you thought
Yeah.
it was forced, but I
No,
liked.
I said the Peggy Steve thing was forced.
Well, Hulk didn't have that much of a storyline, to be honest. He was just like, oh, I feel at peace. That's my thing. But Thor, yes, Thor with him, it's like suddenly he's thinking about Jane, which he hasn't thought about since like the beginning of Ragnarok.
Get on the Wi-Fi?
And then, and also, he was talking about his mom. He was feeling those, going through the process of losing his mom all over again, even though, he just lost.
I mean,
that
I
guy.
feel like Peggy feels natural to me just because she was introduced all the way back in 2000. What is it, 11 or 2012? So it's like 7 years of me sitting with the idea that Steve and Peggy are together and should be together and should always be together. Like, all right, that seems natural. For what was it? Dark World was back in 2013, 14.
Yeah, 2000.
So
yeah.
these things felt.
Right. It wasn't forced. In my
If I had
opinion.
never seen these movies and all of a sudden it was just like, here it is, and it's like, yeah, but if I've been sitting with it for
Right.
literally years, I'm like, it feels
And
earned.
That's how I feel. Like I didn't feel like it was forced. I just thought that it was interesting that they pushed it to the forefront to make sure you knew, like, you would feel it was earned when that's where it went. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
of course that's part of the story. But if they had just had him go to Asgard and be like, Mom! People would be like, wait, what? But beforehand, he was like,
He always felt
"I'm
bad
so
about
sad
his
my
mom, though, dying.
But he didn't
always
go into like a
reference
little
that.
speech about it. Like, it was very like, when he goes up to talk about the stone, he's like, let me talk about my mom dying and how sad I am about this. You know?
Oh, he's sad about a lot of things in his life. I mean, he
Well,
did
his whole
lose
family was
everybody.
decimated.
Yeah.
He's lost everything and everybody.
Exactly. And his mom was what he chose to focus on in that scene, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just like what Steve chose to focus on is the picture of Peggy and not the fact that Sam.
He doesn't have a picture of Bucky and Sam.
That would've been
Not in a
awesome.
compass.
If
Not in
he
a
had
compass.
locket of Bucky
If
and
he
Sam,
did,
I would've died.
Bucky on one big side and
If
Sam
he's got
on
a
the
compass
other.
that he just happens to carry at all times and it has Sam and Bucky in there, I would have been fine with that too.
But yes, Blackwing, seeing Freya again was very beautiful. I thought that she did it was Renee Russo, right?
I love Renee
Did
Russo.
Such a great
She's so
job.
good.
And like
my
the way
God.
that she was just like
Not
so
over that
soft
now.
with Thor, and like probably the only character that didn't make like fat jokes about Thor, which is like the most annoying.
She made
like-
one.
She made one. But it's more like, oh, he hasn't been kind to you, or eat a salad, right? It was eat a
Yeah.
salad. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But that's just good advice.
Wait, are we jumping around now, or are we just?
No, she's
okay.
just going off on tangents.
Okay.
they said that.
Well,
All right.
don't listen. Yeah.
All right, moving on. Okay.
But
I'm not
how do you
looking
guys
at you
feel
guys.
like Tony had a daughter? I think that only played one way in this film, and that was because fatherhood was the thing keeping him from getting in the game, and fatherhood was the thing that got him into the game with Peter.
Like, how do I feel about him being a father? I
Yeah.
just feel like it's a natural.
Yeah. I
think it was just
there's-
like a-
For me, there is something that happens in Spider-Man: Homecoming where I had like a visceral reaction to it, and it's so subtle in the way that Robert Downey Jr. plays it, and it's a speech with him and Peter on top of the rooftop after the whole fairy debacle, and he says like, if somebody dies, that's on you, but if you die, I feel like that's on me.
Right.
And there's something that happens in his face and in his inflection where it's the ultimate turn. And in the theater, the thought that came to my brain is he's not going to be here forever, because what he's thinking about is the fact that he's trying to keep this kid alive long enough to actually get to adulthood, to actually become something more than what he is. Whenever he's like, I want you to be better than me. I want you to and it finally was like Tony Stark as a father figure,
Right,
and not just as the rich douchebag who happens to have a lot of cool toys. And it was so subtle, and maybe it was just because I was just like in my fucking Tumblr mindset and just dissecting everything down to like the tiniest little thing, but like it just was like, this is where this is going, and the MCU is definitely going to head to a place where he's not going to be there forever.
Yeah.
And it definitely felt like the natural culmination where it's like, if you leave Pepper in Infinity War talking about the birth of a child that you're dreaming about, for him to come back and be like, whether she was pregnant or not at that time or not, for him to go ahead and be like, we're having a family, we're doing this, we're
Yeah.
going to do the thing. Like, yeah, that makes sense, especially after the loss of Peter Parker, where he's like definitely feeling something paternal, which is very different, because that parental feeling of responsibility is very foreign to him. The entire MCU spins on the fact that he starts feeling responsible for anything, rather than just his own like pleasures and his own like self-interest. So
and
it felt like this is the logical conclusion. This, if he had just dropped into like this whole like, I'm just gonna be up in my penthouse, I broke up with Pepper, I'm just on a bender for the last 5 years just being Tony Stark, that would have felt exactly like that would have felt completely like, well, this is
was
stupid.
Just like, this is like Tony at his like most evolved form, right?
Yes.
He has everything, and he was the one that had everything.
He is Blastoise now. He's no longer Bulbasaur. He is Blastoise.
He is Blastoise.
Yeah.
But
Pretty much the
Bulbasaur
only
or
family that
Blastoise?
he did have didn't get affected.
Yeah, exactly. And Pepper said that too. Like, we got lucky, but a lot of people didn't. And I know that you can't rest knowing that. So I really like that. I also love the through line of fatherhood with his own father, right? Because you see, it's like a little bit selfish that he doesn't want to give up the family that he's got now.
Yeah.
But he still makes the choice to go out, you know, and try to help everyone. But it's when he hears his father say, like, I don't want you to be me, because, like, or, well, I don't want my son
I
to
don't
be
want,
me. Because for me, the good of the many rarely outweighed my own self-interest. And after that, you know, what does Tony do? He then sacrifices his own self-interest in his own life for the good of the many. With the snap, you know?
Especially in Iron Man 2, where, I mean, a lot of people don't like that movie. I really like that movie just because there's a lot going on there with his own emotional, you know, baggage, especially when it comes to his father, where he's just like, that dude didn't like me. He couldn't fucking stand me. And everyone's like, that's not what actually happened. Yeah. And then even back in Civil War, where he's like reliving the memories of his father, like, these are breadcrumbs that have just come along the way. I'm like, everything that has to do with his family, his father, his own family, like, it's like, this feels earned. This feels like the logical conclusion. I'm very pleased with. It was a total surprise, like, to see Tony Stark as a father, though. Like, that, the audiences that I've been seeing it with, they've just been like, what?
Yeah, like, wow, okay, this is really happening. They're growing up, but of course, like the team, Scott gets out of the quantum realm. What was it? A glitch
rat.
or was it?
It was the rat.
It was the
rat.
Oh God! And we were just talking about rats beforehand too. It was the rat.
The rat is the real
Ant-Man.
hero of Avengers.
Yes. So of course, quantum physics, quantum. We're bringing in the quantum realm,
Which is the right choice.
And they go visit Tony because they're like, who's gonna know quantum realm
Physics.
Yeah, quantum physics.
Yeah, the Pims are all gone. Like, anybody who might actually be able to do anything about it, they're just
probably Tony.
Yeah.
I will have to say though, I don't know tonally if Paul Rudd worked.
Oh, really?
Listen.
In the film.
Listen.
I really like him as like an audience surrogate.
Like that there are smart people that aren't geniuses in the MCU.
No, that's
Scott
wasn't
is
it.
a smart. Listen, he's a like book smart guy. He's got a master's, right? But he's an no. They play him like an idiot, and for good effing reason. Like, he's just like out of his depths because not everybody in that room is genius level.
Right.
Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, you know, Rocket. Those are genius level people. And then down here is Paul Rudd, is Scott Lang. That's a smart guy, right?
Yeah.
He's not a genius.
Right.
And that needs to be illustrated by that. And
But
I
not
like
just that, it's also like he didn't go through what everyone else went through.
Yeah, no, he's been
lived those
gone.
5 years of torture and pain, so he comes out kind of like, what is going on? I don't know what's happening.
And he meets his daughter like right away.
So I think that it helped them, like, they were also kind of like bouncing off of him, like his like lighthearted doofus persona helped them like be less emo.
Sure, but like Tony said,
but
he's smart.
Yeah, but he's not that smart. Like,
they're not that, but they don't play to his strengths in the film, is what I'm saying. They should have had like a scene where that would use his abilities specifically outside of being Ant-Man. I would like to see Scott Lang. His heisting abilities.
For me, this movie feels very much like a goodbye to the original 6.
Right.
Sure. So everyone else is underwritten.
Once Infinity War happened, and once I was like completely like past the whole like, oh my God, all my friends are dead kind of thing, it was realizing like, oh, they're gonna focus on the original first generation. What? Who?
You mean Dominic Cooper?
Yeah, he means Dominic Cooper.
Yeah.
He means Dominic Cooper.
Knowing who was still left on the board, knowing that, like, okay, they're going to focus. The reason why all these other... Wakanda is gone, Peter Parker's gone, the Guardians are gone. These are all people that are going to exist past Phase 3. It's because they're going to focus on this movie just saying goodbye to this 6. I went in with that expectation.
Right.
So it didn't bother me that these other newer characters don't get like as much to do, or they. For me, Scott Lang is more about like he's the new guy. He's the guy that gets to come in and
That's
ask the
different,
questions.
because his character was pushed a little bit in the forefront a little bit. Of course, he comes with the exposition. He has
Right.
the
has the pin
the
particles.
problem solver there.
Yeah. But as far as like him, like I guess I don't really know what you're asking then.
I just don't think he was a fully realized character in there, and if he deserves to have the place that he had in there.
I don't know who else would take that place though. Who else is still left that could do that?
Maybe Natasha. Natasha's pretty smart. Doesn't she?
Or they could have just not snapped Shuri and let Shuri do stuff.
Or Bruce.
No, because if you have Shuri, then Shuri is so advanced that like literally Shuri would have had this shit solved in 3 weeks.
Bruce
Like
could
it would
have
have
been
been
with
done.
the idea and approached Tony. You know.
Oh, you mean just him going to them and saying like I've figured out the overall concept. I just need the mechanics.
The character overall, I don't think it worked tonally within the
because you think
film.
he's too silly.
They played him off too silly.
He's a silly guy. Have
he
you
is-
watched Ant-Man? Like it's such
Sure,
a silly
but
ass movie.
that's too one-dimensional. That's like typecasting the
see.
character in itself. Like you said, he has smarts. We didn't see a well-rounded
I
Scott
don't
Lang.
really
know.
see anybody else on that in that cast that can
Maybe
still
like
be
Thor was
comedic
probably
relief
sillier
that
than-
isn't.
Well, you
the
had
fat
Thor
joke.
a little bit.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
Well,
we have Rocket.
Okay.
We are saying that we have to thank the rat for saving Ant-Man, which
Yes,
I personally
I
thank you.
hate rats. I still
thought-
hate rats.
I thought
Thank you,
that
Rat.
Ant-Man was a good
Except if
addition.
you're Splinter, Master Splinter.
Yeah, I did think that the rat was a good addition. The rat was a good addition. Yes, the rat was an excellent character.
The rat could have delivered the
No, but I think that Ant-Man. I think they needed a character like Ant-Man because, unlike Thor, who like was the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
You know, Ant-Man was bringing the jokes.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So yeah.
Bring the jokes. But speaking of Thor, so Thor 5 years later is a hot effing mess. They're living in like that Aquaman, like that town Bruce went to get Aquaman. It looked like, remember in Batman?
No, it's the place where he left his father.
Yeah, but the
yeah.
town looked like
Oh,
it did
when
in
Bruce went to go
Justice
get
League. Was that
yeah.
Justice League or Batman?
Were
v
they
Superman?
in Norway? I don't remember.
I don't know.
I think that was.
Justice League.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway,
I
they're like
loved it.
fishermen or something.
Yeah.
And Thor comes out looking like the Big Lebowski, but first I thought he looked like a Rastafarian the whole time. I was like,
Yes.
is he wearing dreads? I don't know
Yes.
what's going on with his
No,
head.
he's not. Obviously, he's not showering, so his hair is just doing.
Yeah.
No, it's just greasy.
It's got them locks.
It's just
It
greasy.
was kind of nasty.
Yeah.
It was, and you know, the big criticism about Thor and his whole storyline was like it was making
Yeah.
too much fun of his PTSD.
Exactly.
And people were comparing it to how what's his face handled Tony's PTSD in Iron Man
Yeah.
3. Shane
Black.
Shane Black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I listen. I think anytime that you have a
And
movie
someone thinks Thor's PTSD
or
is
a
funny
character about PTSD and it's not a serious drama piece, you're going to run this risk of somebody thinking that you are throwing light on it. I don't suffer from PTSD. I don't suffer from any other conditions that Thor 5 years later suffers from. I'm not the person to say whether or not that was a good depiction or not, or if it did. I think it makes sense, though, for his character. If you're the guy that didn't stop Thanos, you literally just threw an axe into him, but you couldn't stop him from making the snap.
And then you beheaded him.
Yeah,
the only
and it's
lead,
like-
and you lost everybody.
And if you're
your whole
taking
family.
it, and if you're the guy who's thinking like this is really my fault, you're like Tony and Steve are squabbling about what still happened 4, 5, 6 movies ago. I'm the guy who could have stopped this. I'm the strongest Avenger. I could have been the one to stop Thanos. I went to fucking Nidavellir and had a whole axe made, and I still couldn't do anything about it. Like that hits hard. As to how much the movie actually plays it for laughs, and especially like his weight gain.
Yes.
That's I would much rather defer to other people who actually suffer from those conditions
Weight
and
gain?
who have like go ahead and suffer from
Well, no,
like
the whole
severe
PTSD
I know, I'm
no,
just
but
saying.
who suffer
But I
from
mean, like-
severe
like
weight
having
gain and
him in that,
PTSD
no.
and like and mental
I think that
distress.
anytime that you have to put a character in, like, I assume that was a fat suit.
Yeah.
I assume that
Yeah.
he did not gain a
That's-
beer belly.
yeah.
Gain a beer belly for the role.
He's not Christian Bale. No one
Yeah, no, he's not
anytime you
doing
put
that.
a character in a fat suit and then have people just constantly point to it and be like, bad. It's probably not something you
Yeah.
need. in the movie.
Also, it's not a good message if you're having kids see the movie because that's like a form of bullying.
yeah,
that
like
we're
they're
trying
gonna laugh
to get
at that.
away from.
They might want to then try to get laughs
Yeah.
by doing that.
I can cosplay as Thor now.
There are some people I have seen, I have seen the
representation.
criticisms against it. I have seen people saying like, I appreciated the things that it does get right, which is you can still go ahead and decide to, turn the corner,
Right.
even at your lowest point, even if other people who are looking at you are just kind of like not taking you seriously because they don't take mental health seriously. So we're gonna have a lot more. This is just like the first day that this movie has been out. They're gonna be think pieces on this for weeks, and I'm gonna be very interested to read those.
So there's Thor and what is the next thing?
Oh, by the way, I caught this on the second time. Korg, when he's on. Did anybody notice what he was wearing?
No.
So it's Taika Waititi voicing Korg,
Yes.
playing Korg. He's wearing the Taika Waititi pineapple romper from Comic-Con when they were doing the Thor
That's really
Ragnarok
cute.
press run.
That's really cute.
And I thought it was just the shirt. And the second time around, no, he's in the Korg is in a rompum.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. I
awesome.
love those little things where I'm just like, I'm like, maybe a dozen other people are going to catch this. But that's great.
Tony pointed out that Captain Marvel was trash in this film. He also thought that, they also thought that the rat was trash. But Captain Marvel dipping out, being trash. But I did like the excuse that they gave. Like, there are thousands of planets in this galaxy, and they've all been affected.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that's in charge of space, basically. So
Yeah.
I need to go and help them. I
Well,
thought
also
that made
because they're
sense.
trying to write around the fact that she's supposed to be the most powerful.
She
Like,
is.
She
Exactly.
basically is an Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
She is.
Yeah.
That.
So they had to do something about it, and it
because
worked.
I
I
saw
thought.
Scarlet Witch again, and I was like, Carol's the strongest Avenger.
I mean, but Carol only got taken down with an Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
Whereas Scarlet was like, she did some cool stuff, and then it was like, okay, now you're down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was destroying an Infinity Stone while holding back the Infinity Gauntlet glove.
That's true.
There are
I mean,
different
come
strengths.
on.
There are
Yeah.
different strengths at play there. But I physically.
Sure, physically.
Physically,
And I think
Carol's
that's
the
what
strongest.
Kevin Feige meant. when
Yeah.
he
Yeah,
said
exactly.
he is. Well,
I don't
she
think
is.
I don't think he meant that she's
literally
just the most
But
powerful
if you're
period.
talking about someone who can literally take out a spaceship just from flying into it and
Yeah.
literally headbutting it to death, then that's
Yeah.
Carol Danvers. That's
Exactly.
not
Let's talk about the
Yeah.
fight scenes and how poor they were.
How poor they were.
what.
Suddenly, everyone's confused.
I'm not. You guys are talking about the third hour, the final act.
Wait, we're still not. Wait, so we still have to get to Hawkeye as Ronin. Is that what you're talking about?
That was okay, but I think the general problem with the MCU movies is their fight choreography is poorly done, poorly shot.
Have you seen Winter Soldier? What are we talking about?
No, with the exception of Winter Soldier.
What
Winter
are we
Soldier is the only thing that has like a Daredevil-esque vibe to it when it comes to the fight scenes. Because with Carol, all you get is like Rock'em Sock'em robots.
No one knows
Can
what
I
she's
speak? Rock'em Sock'em robots flying through a spaceship and then it explodes. Like, that's not a good fight scene to me, where you're just punching someone in the face and they go down. That's not a good fight scene to me in a movie. That's not
So
what
you
a
want
fight
it to
scene is.
last longer?
I want to see precision. I want to see you have like a belt in martial arts kind of deal.
She's literally a living comet. She doesn't need to go ahead and have martial arts training.
But it's just I wasn't blown away by the fight scenes per usual, and especially when it's just like CGI. You guys
but
talk about DC fight scenes all the time.
talking about precision, talking about Hawkeye as Ronin, what did you think about that fight scene? Because that was an entire sequence.
I mean, that was
of him
okay.
just throwing, just okay.
It was okay.
Why was it? Why did
You didn't. You
what
barely
standard?
saw him.
He's a fucking ninja. What are you doing?
You barely. But that's your argument. Is the Ronin fight scene where we
Ronin
barely
is
saw
like,
him?
no, okay, but if you're literally just trying to go ahead and just get to a single point, like
Like,
the
what would
whole
be- what would
point
be a
of that
fight scene
sequence,
that it should have been like?
Yeah, like I don't understand what the standard is.
I'm telling you.
What is
If
the standard?
There is a fight scene in there. I want to see some John Wick shit. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
That's my standard. Daredevil is my standard. The Daredevil show is my standard.
Okay, Daredevil?
That's because he's weak.
He doesn't have powers.
yeah,
true.
I just
That's
feel
true.
like you're talking about a different. If a fight has to last longer, it's because the two
Okay, but
people are too
Captain
evenly
America doesn't
matched.
have powers like that. Natasha doesn't have powers
So you
like
want
that. Hawkeye
Jackie
doesn't have
Chan
powers
style
like that.
TikTok Thanos?
Well, they did though. Some of them did, like
Captain
Natasha did.
Hold a helicopter.
Yeah,
It's hard. It's hard.
Cap took out like 20 guys.
yeah.
Right. And like that's even like that's the thing.
You
too,
guys
like,
are still talking
people
about Winter
complained-
Soldier, which I just said was
No,
the
but
even in this
exception.
movie,
People
like-
complained about Luke Cage, for example, because the fight scenes were less exciting since he's so powerful, he'd just be like, okay, stop now.
I don't need
you know?
all of my heroes to fight the exact same way,
Right.
and not everyone is going to have the same fighting style.
Which
The
is
way
why
that-
I
the third
like
act
Scarlet
fight was-
Witch's fighting style, but if I'm talking Natasha, if I'm talking Captain America, if I'm talking people without superpowers, I expect them to fight a certain way.
Well, what about-
And that's
what
in the
about-
way
But
that
even
they were
those people
previously
are stronger
portrayed.
than their opponents. That fight isn't going to last very long.
It doesn't have to last very long, but it doesn't have to be poorly directed or shot either. And that, and the technicality of
Yeah.
the fight and how it was shot. Is
Well, what
the
about
argument
Black
here.
Widow versus Clint at
And
the
what
Soul
movie?
Stone? The Soul Stone in this movie. What did you think of that?
Oh.
Are we going to there to the missions? Wait. Are we jumping around? What
No,
are we
no,
doing?
well-
We're talking about fights.
Okay.
Well, I feel like it was just too much like trippy around, and I know they weren't trying to hurt each other seriously, so but
All right.
I disagree. But I just
I disagree about Peggy and Steve.
I don't know what fight scene you're talking about. If we're talking about,
And I can't specifically say right now because I have to see the movie again. But I
Okay.
know there were a couple fight scenes in there that was just like, I can't even see what's going on. And that's my complaint about like the Jason Bourne films. And of course, that's a style that they go for. But you know, there's certain fight scenes that I like. With my history of watching action films, I
yeah,
have
I
certain
can't
styles that
come
I do
back
like.
if I don't know what fight scene you're talking about, because I'm like, I don't really know. Like all the fight scenes,
I'm just-
none of the fight scenes in this movie were so bad and distracting that I was just like, well, I'm
Right,
just
you weren't
completely
taken
taken
out.
out of it.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel, I
like
definitely
Captain Marvel was terrible.
Well, Captain Marvel, those directors have never directed action or fight scenes before, and it shows. Like, that pacing is really weird and off. The editing is also really, like, just like, oh, that's where you decided to do. Okay, cool. It's not horrible. It's definitely not the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, I can direct you to some horrible fucking action sequences, but it just definitely, yeah, but that doesn't happen in this game. Like, in this movie, like, I didn't feel like End Game was so terrible that I just was like, well, I can't enjoy this now.
Well, it doesn't
Yeah.
get to that point at all. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
in general, that's kind of how I felt about the fight scenes, and that's a problem in the MCU in general. It's too CGI based when they go into battles, and that's the problem with DC films as well.
Okay.
That,
But,
I mean, that's understandable, yeah, because it's like really big scale. Look, when you have really big scale fights too, it's like,
Yeah.
you know. Although
so
I
much you
did
can
like the third act fight. We got to see all the different, like speaking different styles. We got to see how the different characters
Yeah.
were gonna try to go up against Thanos, or if they were like on the like lesser plane going
Yeah.
up against his little creatures.
Do we want to go to now, like, the plan to actually go
Sure.
ahead and get all
someone,
the,
look,
yeah.
Did we
Someone
discuss
just nudged
Professor
us-
Hulk?
Oh,
Loved it.
that was really fun.
That was
Loved it.
surprising. I didn't expect that.
Didn't expect it.
He
Loved
finally
it.
embraced his other
Yeah,
half.
this is kind of like it's not really a problem, but the fact that he doesn't get his own movies is like you don't get to see that journey. But because we saw him at his lowest point in Ragnarok, it's interesting to know that he then picked himself up in those 5 years, like, right?
But don't you think that the storyline that he does get in Phase 2 and Phase 3 is like enough of the Hulk story that you need? You don't really need.
Sure,
dedicated
I just
films
meant
for him?
Yeah.
like if he had his own movies, we would have seen him decide to become Professor Hulk. We would have seen that.
But do you need that?
Well,
Do you need a whole movie?
obviously-
I don't. I really don't. Listen,
that's why I said I don't know if it's a problem.
Right.
Like if you like Hulk, then maybe you'd like to see that. If you don't care about Hulk,
Yeah,
then
because people
I
want to
mean,
see like the
I-
Planet Hulk movie. And
right.
I like
exactly.
Hulk a lot, but I mean, it just, okay. Incredible Hulk is a fine movie. It's a decently
We've been talking about
well-made
Incredible
movie.
Hulk for now.
However, the reason that movie to me just doesn't work is because it's a lot of that. It's a lot of pondering of how am I going to survive with this terrible monster inside me? You don't understand. I have a monster inside of me. I'm sad now because I have a monster inside of me. No, sir, you can't do that because I have a monster inside of me. Like, it's literally just that ad nauseum. And it's just like, we're hitting on this a lot. And I get that, you know, we did it. We were in, we were out. Now the film rights are all kind of fucked, you know, with an individual solo Hulk movie. I don't, and multiple filmmakers have said this. How do you make Hulk work when he is just the focus? It doesn't really work. If you now pair him up in a team, or if you pair him up with someone like Thor, like they did in Ragnarok,
was a great pair.
that
was a great
works
pairing.
because now you have somebody to play
Right,
them off.
play off of.
Because now playing Banner against Hulk doesn't really work. If you have Banner, Hulk, and somebody else or an entire team of people, that works, because then you can have those conversations. But if you just have a guy who's just hiding out in Brazil somewhere in some weird bottling company, that doesn't really work. You know, it's just
That's see, I would love a Cho Hulk film.
I would love that.
Because Cho is one of the ones who, like, he can just be in the Hulk and be cool with it. But that's what I was saying, like, okay, well, fine, Blackwing. But what I was saying is that I like that we get to see someone kind of like Tony, picking themselves up after that lowest point.
Yeah.
And then having put themselves together, like, the, most evolved form of Hulk or the most evolved form of Banner is the one where they're combined, right? And he's happy with who he is. He's
I would
happy with how
be
he looks.
much more interested in a Professor Hulk solo film rather than I would have pre.
Right.
Yeah, like trying to accept yourself and
That wouldn't. Okay, that would work for, like, I think a one-off where it's like, what is he doing in the meantime? But if I'm just looking at either Banner or Hulk, like, that doesn't really work. If I'm seeing Banner Hulk, Professor Hulk, that works. I want to talk about that. Yeah, what are you doing now after the fact? Like, you're just going around this world, you're going around Earth just looking the way you do. Is there still a warrant out for your arrest for wrecking, where were they? In Africa, in Ultron.
Oh.
Yeah. Are people still trying to, like, put you in prison for that? Is that a thing? Or are they, like, cool with you now? Yeah, like, it's like, oh, he's just out taking selfies and shit. Like, okay, cool. Yeah.
So that's everybody, right? And then Ronan. He's on a crusade. He's basically like being the Dexter of the MCU.
He
Is
just
that
better
Dexter's
have
deal?
murdered
He
all of the
kills
KKK
serial
that are left
killers.
and all the neo-Nazis before he moved on to Mexican drug cartels.
Oh wait,
That's all I want.
Did this person see Avengers? Did you watch Avengers End Game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
We're having
We're
a
talking
spoiler
spoilers,
conversation.
and we were like, oh no.
Heard no, it's like
Okay, cool.
Thursday. What about the Silver
So good. So he's basically avenging on his own and getting his frustrations and depression out. I guess, he's going through depression, right?
I mean, I think it's a good. I mean, it makes sense if it's like
I
even
feel like
good.
they're deliberately assigning
If good people have been dusted and shitty people have been allowed to stay on this earth, like, I'd be pissed too. I don't know if I'd go to the extent that he does, but I'd be pissed about it.
Or are they going through the 5 stages of grief?
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
I
He's
feel
still
like
angry.
there's a reason why somebody's going through PTSD, and then there's the Hulk who's accepting himself, and then there's Tony who's denying. Yeah. So I think that's what they're all representing.
What's like
Natasha.
the sixth one? The sixth one is just.
Acceptance.
Yeah.
But
I think
there's
they're
5 stages.
I mean, I think
That's what I'm saying, like,
you
there's 6
can
of them,
couple
5
some of those up, but
Yeah, exactly.
no, but I mean, he's definitely raging, and I think that was
Anger.
Yeah. That's
He's
a good
the
one.
anger. Yeah. Natasha is probably the depression, right? Or is that
No, I thought she was like
Thor?
maybe
Bargaining.
I think she was like
Bargaining.
bargaining. Like she's still trying to keep going. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you watch Avengers End Game?
Oh
Close your ears.
no! Okay.
No, but I want to say sorta because the dude Clint was fighting felt like a choice to be Silver Samurai.
Okay,
Silver Samurai.
that dude,
Oh.
I love. I forget his name, but he was like my favorite guy off of Last Samurai.
He got
What's his name?
Hiroyuki Sanada.
I love him.
Yeah,
He's
what was
so
he in
good.
before?
Silver Samurai.
Huh?
He was the Silver Samurai.
Was he?
Yeah,
Oh, the actor.
the actor.
Was he really?
Yeah.
I need to rewatch that movie. I guess I've blocked
That
it
seriously
out.
said that I like Ronan. Reminded me of Snyder Batman.
No, he was the father.
He was the father.
He was
Snyder- yeah, those scenes are definitely shot like that.
But yeah, Ronan was kind of like he came out of the Snyder movie, sure.
I guess he was Wolverine. All right, cool.
I did think it was kind of funny that like Natasha just comes up with, like with her umbrella, like you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
I have hope for you now.
Come with me.
Exactly.
Come with me if you want to live.
Come
and
to
get
the
your family
light.
back.
Come back to the light.
It's like, don't give me hope. Don't give me hope. So the time heist thing, the whole time thing was like. So I think Josh said it was like the grandfather effect. So basically, what they were
Oh,
saying.
hang on.
yeah.
Our friend is
Run.
leaving there.
He's
Run,
He's
sir,
coming
run.
here. So yeah, grandfather paradox. You cannot kill your grandfather.
because you already exist.
Yes.
So basically, they're saying that every time movie we've seen beforehand was bullshit,
Yes.
and the butterfly effect is not a real thing.
Right.
Yes.
Is what they're saying.
Unless you take a stone.
Yes, unless you take a stone, then a branch timeline does exist, which is how we're going to get that Loki Disney Plus series.
That's where I saw him. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was like, where's that guy from?
But yeah. So, and the reason for this is because when you go to the past, it becomes your future.
Yes.
And your future cannot affect your past.
Wait. Go to the past. So if I went
So
back
it's a
to when I was in
linear-
high school.
Yes. That's
Because you're not going to then suddenly become a high schooler. You would be there as your present self in the year that you were in high school. You're not going back to your body.
You
The
are
high
just-
school is my future?
you.
being
You are
there is
visiting.
your future.
You are just visiting.
Exactly.
Your past self still exists. There are now two of you.
Yeah.
And we saw that illustrated when they go back to 2012 and
And he
Steve
fought-
actually
Steve
fights
fought himself.
himself.
Yeah.
Yes, which was a great scene. Like that sequence a lot. So yeah, so the whole gag of this by the end, we're gonna skip around, not skip around, but by the end of the movie, we find out that Steve has gone back, lived a whole life. Concurrently with everybody else. So the whole gag of the
Still doesn't make
MCU
sense to me.
is that there are two Captain Americas in the world. It's just that the Captain America that we have been seeing on screen is the younger Steve. And the older Steve is the one who went back in time
Yes.
and lived his whole
And then
life.
what was Peggy
chilling
doing?
at
Just
home.
hiding him out, like
He
hiding
came
him?
from a bush.
Possible, yeah.
Like, so he was just like, oh, these people are here because I know that
Well,
they
because
were here.
if you think about it, the MCU covers a time when he's an old man. So,
yeah.
But we do have Agent Carter.
yes.
So we know what Ted was
So
doing for
Agent
those
Carter
years.
exists. The timeline is a little weird. It is, but it's not impossible. Okay. So
She then
depending
dumped
on
that one guy with the limp and was like, Captain America is back.
because
I
it's
am
never
sorry.
confirmed. It's never confirmed if that's the dude. And then Haley Atwell has gone on to say that season 3 of Agent Carter would have gone ahead and said who that husband was going to be that was mentioned in Winter Soldier. Whenever he's watching that video where she was like, "Oh, Steve Rogers, saved my future husband, this, that, and the other," and it's like who's-
himself.
Yeah,
He
who's
saved
the-
himself.
Maybe
By
possibly.
coming back and staying with me.
Exactly. Like
Just stayed out of the Vietnam War and the Korean War.
Yes.
No, but our
Yes.
Oh yeah,
yes,
which
correct.
is ridiculous. But he was
Yes.
it was his reward vacation, so he was.
He would have
okay.
been beyond the enlistment age.
And plus, he can't change the past. So
Korean War only happened like a decade later.
You would
Yeah,
have still
but
been.
doesn't matter.
Look,
He
you
can't
want to
change
look
the
up
past.
enlistment ages of the military?
America.
it's freaking Captain America, yo.
Huh? No, but he wouldn't
But he wasn't
exist
around.
as Steve
Exactly. He
Rogers.
wasn't-
If
he
Steve
wasn't
Rogers
listed as being
is
alive.
to the world
Yeah.
dead
He's,
because
like,
the
in hiding or
celebrity
whatever.
No,
is.
but you're saying he wouldn't come out of hiding?
yeah, he
No,
wouldn't
why
go ahead
would
and-
he? Hi, my name is Joe Goldman, and I want to go ahead and enlist. And why? Why would you not stay at home and
Josh is not
chill out with
listening
Peggy Carter?
Captain America.
Because all he wants to do is get the retirement that
It's
he's
space magic,
earned.
okay?
Yeah.
That's the moral of the story. He couldn't do it because he didn't want to risk disrupting
This
the
idea
timeline.
that like, oh, you're telling me he wouldn't like, no, he's already done all
It
that.
works perfectly if you just use 5 timelines.
Wow. Well, thank you for this back and forth debate.
Yeah.
So let's just jump a little forward here. Were you guys surprised when Paul Bettany didn't come and play Human Jarvis?
Fuck the Korean War.
No, I wasn't.
No, because Human Jarvis is Paul
Is a
Darcy.
real person from the
Agent Carter.
Agent Carter show.
Oh, I didn't watch Agent Carter.
Which makes him the first TV originated character to make it into one of the
Which
movies.
is great.
Yeah.
I love that.
So,
I love that
that's
so
Da,
much.
da, da, da.
Yeah, Paul Bettany only plays the voice of Jarvis, the just
just
a
thought it
really
would've been a
very
fun
what is
call,
it?
but-
The what does Jarvis stand for? Just a really very intelligent system or
Intelligent?
something.
Yeah.
Service.
Service,
Something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Servant.
So
Intelligence system. Probably.
yeah. So Paul Bettany has only ever been just a voice. He's not
Rather very
someone
intelligent
who was
system.
once human.
Very intelligent system.
There you
Just
go.
a rather very intelligent. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, because he was named
Well,
it
'cause his
after.
actual
He
Jarvis
named it
is-
after Jarvis. Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Thanks,
cute.
Jarvis.
Yeah.
I love the fact that what's his face? Shit. John Slattery plays
Yes.
Howard Stark because he is Howard Stark in Mad Men.
Okay, so are we gonna talk back to the
Yes.
mission? So like we're gonna talk about Captain
Yeah,
America.
since you were talking
Okay.
about Peggy and
All right,
Steven.
so
I mean, it's
going back to
9:59.
2012, where it's
Yeah.
the
The
Battle
New
of New
York.
York. I loved it.
Yeah,
I
that
loved
was
it.
that was some great like
America's
extended
ass.
scene.
Talk about America's ass.
Yeah.
America's ass because that's all we talk about here is Cap ass.
That's true. But it was a really great.
Cap
I
that
love
ass.
that callback to like first off this movie gave us like 2 big like Captain America moments, but like that horrible storyline where Captain America was Hydra for 5 seconds.
Oh, in the comics?
We got, we
fuck
got like
that
a nice
storyline.
We got like an actual
That was awesome.
call out to it, but
Because what we
like,
thought was going to happen was going to kick their asses again.
exactly.
And then Winter
Instead, he was
Soldier.
like, "Hail Hydra."
They just gave him the
I loved it so much because
So
it was great.
gross.
Like, it was
It
the
felt
setup.
wrong.
Yeah, it
I
felt
don't
wrong,
like it.
But at the same time, you know it's fake, right? So
Don't like
you're
it.
like, oh,
Don't like it.
And
Also,
then
you had Loki, the return of Tom Hiddleston.
yes,
Which is
and
how we're going to get the Disney Plus
exactly, like
series.
you said,
So
the
excited.
backdoor pilot.
Yeah, because he stole an Infinity Stone and disappeared, and I don't know how that plays into something because
So,
technically in that
okay.
timeline it's gone.
If you
Yeah.
imagine the timeline as is, just okay, and as the Ancient One, whenever she was discussing with Bruce, when
My
she's
brain
like,
started to
if
explode
you
again.
remove an Infinity Stone from this existence, what then occurs is that a branch timeline where there are now
Yeah.
only 5 Infinity Stones instead of 6.
Yes, so there is now a branch timeline.
Yes.
You have
So-
really tiny hands. I'm
Even
sorry.
though
No, I do. I
at
have
a
little-
different
super
spot,
tiny.
I have very tiny- yeah.
they took that stone and then
Yes.
put it back.
So the
So
whole-
does that mean that you could just go throughout time
Yes.
and keep taking the same stone
Yes.
and keep creating branch realities
You could.
from that same stone?
But then it becomes a thing where I think that because I don't
They have to
think
return it.
I don't think
Yeah.
Tom Hiddleston is just going to continue to make this Loki series. I think it's pretty much going to be a
Like
one and done.
yeah.
So I think the end of that series is going to be him returning to that point, returning the Tesseract to that exact point where he disappeared, and that be like that's just how they wrap that up.
Okay.
So yeah.
Hashtag cap that ass.
Yes, cat that ass. America. I just love that, and I love that Chris Evans and Steve Rogers at that point is just like, that is America's ass.
How,
like,
and speaking of like, they went back in time, obviously, they only had one capsule to go back into time where the certain Infinity Stones were, and they were at the same place. How fucked up was it when no one told Natasha and
okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Hawkeye that they had to kill someone they loved to
Yeah.
get the stone?
Here's the loophole.
didn't know.
Here's the loophole. The only
No,
people.
Gamora knows.
No.
Oh wait, Nebula
no,
must have
Gamora.
known.
Nebula
must have
knows.
known.
No, she doesn't. She just knows where it is. Nobody knows that you have to kill somebody that you love in
So
order to
she
get
just
the
thought
stone.
he killed
the
Gamora because he
only
was an asshole.
Yes.
She
the
was like,
only
oh, okay.
people who know that
don't-
are Gamora, who's now dead, and Thanos, who's now dead, which is
Okay.
the loophole
Okay.
that I thought was created until I realized the whole reason why you go ahead and kill Thanos, if you're a writer, is like, how do I explain this away? If I murder Thanos in the first 10 minutes,
Yes,
then
yes,
nobody is alive to go ahead and tell them, like, I had to murder
Right.
her. That's never anything that anybody ever says. I am a little annoyed that they didn't work it out, that, like, well, I guess they just imagined, because even Gamora didn't think that he was capable of love. So maybe if you're an Avenger, you're like, no, that's just an asshole who just decided to murder his own daughter.
Yeah.
And that's just the extent of his douchebaggery. But us knowing it, we're just like, why didn't you work it out? Why didn't you guys have that discussion that if 2 of you are going to go there and the possibility of only 1 of you coming back, why was that not worked out? But if I think about it, and if I'm like, if that's not something that you actually ever, I guess maybe you don't give your opponent enough credit, or like, even if Thanos has a heart, if even Thanos is
Right.
capable of loving somebody, and if you have, like, I don't know if I would know that.
No, I mean, I definitely don't think, like, if Nebula didn't already know it, I've just assumed that Thanos, like, told Nebula, since Nebula knew that he murdered
Well-
Gamora there. But if she didn't know it, then no one would figure that
Yeah,
out. Like,
well,
why
because
would they think
Gamora
that?
doesn't know until she's like, "Ha, you've been suckered.
Well,
you ain't
Thanos
getting
doesn't
shit.
know.
You don't love anybody."
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then
I
it's a
think Thanos
surprise to
knew.
her
Yeah.
when she's like, "Oh,
Oh, well, Tony says that Nebula knew. She said it in Infinity War, I think.
no, she didn't."
Oh, okay.
She
Well,
just
then
says
you're wrong, Tony.
that the stone is on Vormir. That's all she says. Is that
Yeah,
the stone
That
is
is
there.
all she said.
Nobody ever explicitly says you have to murder someone
But
you
everybody
love.
knew Volmir like it was part of history, so I don't know why they
Part
didn't
of
know
history.
that. Well, they all knew like this stone was at Volmir. This Volmir.
No, not.
Yeah,
Right, that's
Nebula.
Nebula. So why didn't they know more about this place, Volmir? Well, then
Because all she knows is
there?
no. Because no, Nebula knew. No, Gamora knew. Gamora told Nebula. Nebula is the one to go ahead and tell the rest of the team in this movie, right?
No, but who told Thanos? How did Thanos know the Soul
In
Stone was always
Infinity
there?
War.
Right, who told
The
Thanos?
brain message.
Because when
When
they
she was
replayed
deconstructor.
when they replayed the message from her memory bank, which is the conversation between her and Gamora at an earlier point, and Gamora said, "I found the location
Right.
of the
Oh.
stone.
Now I remember that.
Like, I've destroyed the map.
There's
like, it
literally
doesn't
like
exist."
5 hours worth of movie after memory
Yeah.
here, so give me a
So Yeah, no, and I honestly was like the
Not
first
you.
time I just was like, this is bullshit. Nobody like fucking told these people, like they like literally like set
Right.
up Hawkeye and Widow, but I'm like, no, nobody else would have known that, and they definitely didn't know that when it's just luck
Yeah.
that Thanos and Gamora show up, and that he just happens to bring someone that he fucking
And,
loves.
yeah.
Because if he just shows
Everybody.
up by himself, it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, be like, don't worry, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get my daughter, and then we can go ahead and take care of this. No, like it's a flimsy loophole just because we know everything that happens
right.
and we as viewers know more than what the people on screen do.
Yeah, and it's hard because there's so many characters, and there's so many characters
Yeah.
who are played to be so intelligent that you would assume that
Yeah.
they would know the
But
history.
yeah, all
of
they
what's
all they
going
have
on.
is a
Right.
planet name. That's all they
Right.
have is Vormir. And then they don't even know that they're going to run into this red ghost guy.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, at the ending,
Red
Red
Ghost
Skull,
guy.
right?
Yeah.
if Steve Rogers has to go back and take back all the stones to the moment, are they taking it back to the exact moment and place? And does that mean that he came face to face with the fucking Red Skull on
must
Vormir
have,
at
right?
the end of the
Yeah.
movie? Like, that's amazing. I want that one off.
I just now
he
here's
wants
the
it
okay. I
deleted.
just want to like. Okay, so Gamora was sacrificed to the Soul Stone,
Yes.
so she can't be brought back.
Yes.
just like Nat can't.
And the
But
Vision.
That, okay, how do we feel about that? Because that is...
I don't like that another woman got off that Vormir.
Yeah.
yeah, I hated that. First off,
I'm-
I hate that we had two quote unquote permanent deaths, and they were both women. Like when Nat
Badass
died,
women,
when
yeah.
Nat died, I was like, "Excuse me, the deaths so far have been 2 women and an android.
I mean,
don't
it
accept
makes
this."
sense in
But-
the context of the film and how Nat is and Clint has the family,
Family,
and Nat
yeah.
doesn't really. But the fact that that happened kind of back to back is
Yeah.
That's what
That's-
throws
Like, yeah,
us off.
it made sense. But
It's
it was
not
a little
good
bit awkward.
optics.
Right.
Yeah.
It makes sense within the
But
context of the
then
story.
Yeah.
Gamora gets pulled out from 2014, and
Yes.
she's obviously going to stay in the present. She's obviously going to reunite with the Guardians.
Do we know that? Because
I mean, I think
we...
like if she had
Depends if
disappeared,
Zoe Saldana
they
has
would
to
have
do
shown it.
reshoots for Avatar or
I,
not. Let's
I won't be
real.
surprised if she shows up, but if this is just going to be a way where they just kind of like, well, actually, it turns out that she was dusted because
I
we
feel
couldn't
like-
figure out her contract. Like,
Yeah,
I won't
if
also.
that happens,
Yeah.
if she just was dusted, it would be because
Yeah.
there was a scheduling conflict and she couldn't come. But the way they did it, I feel, was to set out
Yeah,
Yeah.
finding
open
her in
ending.
the next
Yeah.
movie.
I'll say. Oh,
It just shows them like a pawn shop. How you just?
okay.
Okay,
I don't know. I don't wanna be,
so like given that, like even because like that's an option, right? Obviously, Peter thinks she's still here
Yeah.
now, and Nebula probably thinks she's still here now, etc.
Yeah.
Given that that's clearly an option to try, I don't know why no one was like, let's just go to Vormir like right before Nat went in there and grab Nat and just see what happens.
I don't know what the
Hey
mechanics
Nat,
of that would
let's
Yeah.
hang out for a while. You know?
I don't know what the mechanics of
Because
that would be.
the Soul Stone only comes after the sacrifice, right? It
Yeah.
only makes itself present.
Yeah, but it already exists. You can't change the past. So they would never have not gotten that
But
stone.
you would have had to
Oh,
create
someone's in
another
there.
timeline and
Yeah,
then-
someone's in there.
And then send her back to fix it.
Have you seen Endgame?
Did he say
Get out of here, man!
We're in a live stream.
Earmuffs, man. Save yourself.
Steve smashes the Red Skull with Thor's hand. I love to see that. Right in
Oh, and then I realized the reason why he takes. We'll get to that at the ending. But anyways, no.
But
what
I
I do want to talk about whether or not it was too short of a death for such a major character.
it was a little bit of a throwaway because you also weren't sure if she was going to come back at the end or not. Or how
Yeah,
that
and
would
then they were like
affected
6
time
times like,
displacement.
we can't bring her back. Contractual reasons say she must stay dead. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I think it was very weird, but not surprising as an end to her story because it brings us back to her friendship with Clint and her kinship with him.
Yeah.
And that they're as close as family and even more than that. And I feel like that is within her character to do that.
Yes, I thought it was in character. I just thought that it would have been nice if they had given her more like
More
than
time.
just like because like she didn't even get really a funeral. Like if they'd had like a little joint
Yeah.
funeral for her and Tony, that would have been.
I felt
you
like
know.
that was a bitch move
know,
to
yeah.
only give the funeral to Tony Stark, and I'm
Exactly,
like,
like-
where's her set at? Like, she
Right.
doesn't get a grave marker at the Barton farm. She doesn't get
Right.
a
Something
memorial.
just to show
Do
that
they?
Nat was.
Yeah.
4-hour cut.
Like
Right,
yeah,
you're
like
right,
yeah. If
okay.
there's a four, I mean, I don't
Like,
know.
they
This
got
could
that
be
little
things where
moment.
like, what, Shay? Do you want to fight right now?
Shay's
I will literally fight
God,
you
where did he come
Yeah.
from?
on screen.
Thanos,
Oh my
snap him
God.
back.
For real. Hey, where's the? can you do some snapping here, please? Like,
Getting the Thanos snap. So Panther 7 says, so I guess her solo movie's a prequel then?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like the Red Room, right?
Yeah, it was always supposed to be a prequel.
Yeah.
It,
Which should have told us everything we need
run,
to
sir!
know.
Earmuffs. We're
Run,
trying to
run.
save you.
Run, bitch!
Anyway, understand nothing.
Okay, great.
okay.
Good.
well,
good.
it is convenient how, like, everybody who cares about each other goes to fucking Volmir.
Someone did
how
point-
convenient.
Someone did point out that they are the only two Avengers that could have
That
made
would've-
that scene work, and that could have made the whole thing of like, because I'm as much as Steven, do they
totally
love each
Yeah,
other?
yeah,
they
they
love each other.
How about Hawk and Natasha?
No, that's not
true.
stronger than Clinton and
No,
Natasha.
it's not
No.
stronger, but it still would have
Yeah.
been, you know.
They've been so far apart, I don't even know if they have the same kind of feelings. Like,
fight
they're
you.
fond of each other.
I'm gonna straight up fight you on screen.
That would be hysterical, though.
I'm
if,
gonna
like,
wear a
they
fucking
went-
green little
if
suit and just
they-
beat
if
the
any
shit out
other
of you so
group
that
had
way it
gone,
looks like an
Yeah.
invisible
They had done
person.
that whole entire scene.
Yeah,
And then one of them
exactly.
decided to die, and there was no fucking stone. Because, like, I'm sorry, your love for that person just wasn't
Sorry.
strong enough.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
what?
wouldn't that be a bitch move?
What do you mean?
Could you imagine if you just brought like sacrificial lambs and you're just like, get in there? Sorry.
Do I love this
happened.
one? Do I love-
Natasha and her parade of bad hairstyles and wigs has come to an end
So sad.
during Act 2 of
That's not her fault.
Yeah.
I need to talk to somebody in that trailer. They got good. Like there's
That's about it, right?
there's more
I
bad
don't
than
know
there
what they
are
were
good
doing
ones.
with
This
the
is
red
definitely
blonde
the movie
thing.
where I felt the most for
I
Natasha.
feel like they just wanted to show that there was a progression of time, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
dude, you could have.
Yeah.
Her long hair would have clued me in.
Yeah, like you could have just cut that
Right.
off. But I guess
Right.
if you wanted to just look 5 years later, oh, what do women do 5 years later? Yeah, we
They
just
let
let
their
our
roots grow.
dye.
What am I talking
just
about?
let
My red's
my-
like all the way down here.
She was so depressed she couldn't get a touch up. All her hairdressers were snapped. Okay.
Again, questions
I wish
I
I
have.
did her roots and my red hair is like all the way
Questions
down.
I have about the post-snap world. What happened to hair salons? Like, honestly, what happened to just normal, everyday life?
I've been asking everyone this, but this is very like important to me. How convenient is it that Peter's like entire friend group got snapped?
Oh, yeah.
So that they can all
I
be
had-
his age
Okay,
next movie.
so is Far From Home, is it after
Yes.
all
yeah,
this?
it's like
Okay.
right
So
after.
all of those kids.
Yeah, they were all
Again,
snapped. They were all
Again,
snapped.
I have questions
Yeah.
about the population and percentages.
Right. And then how
like,
hilarious that like the actor who plays Ned
Yeah.
clearly did not get
Yeah.
the memo that he was also snapped because he was like, Peter, I haven't seen you in 2 days. Like when he shows up, like they do like the whole little
Who, the
like,
son?
No, he did.
Yeah, they all got snapped.
Yeah, they all
Even
got
on their
snapped.
wiki,
That's why
they
they're
got
in high
snapped.
school,
Yeah, they're
dude.
still in high school. Otherwise, it would have been like Ned every year he fails, so that just in case Peter comes back, they'll be in the same grade.
It's not like
No.
Ned was in a business to after getting a counselor.
Yeah, he was the guidance counselor. So what? So after Volmir, they get back and they have the stones, but Gamora versus Gamora, there is a mole in the group.
Nebula versus
Nebula.
Why do I keep calling her Gamora? Oh my
Because-
god!
Making it very
You
Yes.
can't replace one painted person with another painted person.
Racist.
Yes.
I did like that. I did like
Yeah.
it was again unexpected. If you go ahead and make Nebula the crux of how Thanos is gonna come back at the end, like didn't occur to me, wasn't telegraphed, didn't know until it was like literally like on. I was like, oh no, and as it's happening, oh no, like oh shit. This was-
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
I see it now after the
And
fact.
it worked so well too because like she's not connected really with those people for them to then be like, wait a second.
You're
And she
acting
wants her dad's
weird.
approval.
Exactly. You're acting weird, Nebula.
This just solidified my opinion that Thanos is the best villain in the MCU.
Oh,
He's not my
Like,
favorite, but I think
Really?
he's not.
This past
your
two
favorite?
movies,
But
he was
it's
such
preference.
a badass.
He is. I'm not saying it's all about preference at this point. Once you get
Killmonger.
Killmonger is
Yeah,
up there.
Killmonger.
Zemo
And
is up
Zemo.
there. Zemo.
They're
Zemo's
1,
so
2,
good.
3 for me.
Yeah.
So it's Thanos, Killmonger, and then
Me too.
Zemo.
Those are my. Have you seen Endgame, sir?
Doesn't matter.
He's like,
like,
you will
doesn't
be
matter.
scared.
Earmuffs.
It's okay. I gave them all the warning in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you did.
He was like, I have to pee. I have to pee. I'm sorry.
I work for Fandango. I've been like busy selling Endgame tickets.
Aww.
You couldn't see it yourself.
Sometime.
Aww. Well,
Good seats are gone.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you for your heart. Thank you
yeah.
for your
Thank
work.
you for your service,
Thank you
sir.
for your service. For your
Service.
patriotic duty. Anyway.
I just found that Thanos was menacing. He had good motive.
Yep.
he was smart.
Yeah,
strong.
impartial, cold,
Yes.
calculating. To just if you're just extreme, be extreme for logical reasons.
And
Don't
he was
be extreme.
well-rounded.
Yeah, if for emotional reasons, like that never really plays well. If you're just emotional and you're just like all over the place because you're just pay attention to your whims and your whims
Yeah.
alone, I'm just like, how are you still not getting your ass kicked on the regular?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, he wasn't the mustache twirly villain, and it's funny that we say like or at least we say like Thanos and Killmonger and Zemo are like the top three, and it's not like this Loki because is he really a villain?
No.
But they all have well-rounded motives, and you can understand the other side of their arguments, which makes a great villain. And I just feel like Josh Brolin doesn't really get the props that he deserves for doing this role.
I think it's because we have such a massive misunderstanding of what mocap performance is. I think we, as maybe not us here, but the general population doesn't realize how much of an actor's performance is still an
Right.
actor's performance.
Yeah.
And I think the Academy needs to fucking quit their shit. And literally, it's been my idea to, they should really move forward with the creation of a digital performance category, just so that way, like, I get it, you don't want to go ahead and place every CGI mocapped person in the same category as like your supporting and best
Yeah, but make
actor.
it its own
But
category,
I
yeah.
think there's a lot that goes into it. It's
Yeah,
obviously
Andy
a
Serkis,
yes,
I mean, come
Andy
on.
Serkis would have been winning this shit every fucking year.
Honestly,
but
they should do. I think they should do a category for mocap performances or
Yes.
CGI, but also like
Yes.
voice act, just like literally
exactly.
just voice acting.
Well, in my mind, all of that would fall in. So animated, CGI, mocapped, all of it would fall in. If
Right.
it's not a single one human person
Right.
on screen giving the performance, then all of that goes into it. And then you could go ahead and open it up to voice actors, to motion capture pioneers like Andy Serkis.
Right.
Go ahead and give your props to your digital teams that are putting in hours of fucking work to make this shit not only look good but feel right.
Right.
Because Thanos doesn't come across correctly if you don't have a great team
That's
Right.
true.
actually animating.
true.
So Academy, if you happen to just be watching this, like the Academy is all watching right now.
Yeah.
But no,
I feel a little
fair.
weirded out that he kind of looks like Joss Whedon, but you know, I got over that after Infinity War.
yeah. No, I love him. I think he's great. I think he's
And the end when he just sat down and dusted away, like I felt that, and I actually felt kind of bad
yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, and I was like, now, and to answer Blackwing's question, that's what makes a good villain. When you can feel an iota of sympathy for him, when you can understand the motives, when you can feel for him and also hate him at the same time. Or completely hate him and just love the performance.
Yeah. I feel like for me the top 3 is Killmonger, Thanos, and Zemo, and it's because
It's a good top 3.
those motivations are simple. The plans, even if they are, over a period of time, it's a simple plan. The goal
Right.
is the same, and even if you have to go through several machinations of what happened.
Was Zemo's plan that simple?
It was. Because it's like he literally went to that dude's house to find the videotape. That's all he wanted. And he said that before he drowned him, he's like, if you don't tell me what I'm looking for, which was the videotape or at least the record or whatever
Right.
it was, I have to go through all this shit in order to get through it. I really don't want to. Will you please do me a solid and tell me where it is? And the dude was like, no, fuck you, Hail Hydra. And the entire plot of him like blowing up the UN, getting to Bucky Barnes, finally getting them there to that bunker. I don't even think he really expected them to get to the bunker, but once he realized, like, no, y'all are there. All right, let me just pop this in.
Let me just
worked
stare
out.
at you.
Press
Yeah.
play. Let me just go ahead and press play on this since y'all are all here. Let me play y'all a little movie.
y'all are here.
Yeah, no, I think that if you don't have some crazy, ridiculous plot of world domination, because it's like, why do you want to take over the world? Because it's the world. Well, why? Because, like, oh, fuck you. Like,
Right.
really?
What I liked about Zemo was the motive for his plan
Yes.
was so simple.
Yeah, simple.
It
Simple.
was
And then
because
even
his
Thanos.
family was killed. That's it.
Yeah.
It wasn't because he wanted power. It was revenge, really.
Right.
And Thanos, simple as hell. He's like, listen, it's simple. It's a simple equation. We don't have enough shit for all of you, so some of y'all gotta go. All right, that's simple enough.
It was like I read the Malthusian proposition.
Yeah.
And I decided it was good.
And it's a motive you can relate to.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if someone killed my whole family, I want to kill that I want to get
Yeah.
revenge too. Hey, we're dealing with an overpopulation problem.
kill half of them.
Well, not
Somebody-
let's kill, but if we need less people, let's stop procreating, right?
Somebody on Twitter tagged me
Birth control.
in some video where they just found this massive sea of like congregated plastic in the Caribbean somewhere, and literally, as far as you can see, it does end somewhere, but it's too far for you to actually see.
Yeah.
It's just a sea of plastic, right? And I literally retweeted that shit with like, Thanos was right, like 100%. Fuck every single one
Every
of
time
you
you see one of those
that don't know
posts.
how to recycle, because fuck that.
How did you feel about Red Skull as a villain? Yeah, I don't remember.
He was blah. I did not care about him.
I mean, it's a Nazi. I'm supposed to hate Nazis, and I do
Yeah.
hate
We
Nazis.
always
so
hate the
that just
Nazis.
was-
Done.
yeah.
But you see, mentioned the all-female Avengers. Like, at
Are
the
we
very
going to
least-
there at that point, or
I
are
mean,
we
how
still
much time
trying
do we
to
have
get
left?
Okay.
Yeah, it's already 10:19. I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna take it
Yeah.
to 11.
Okay.
But go. I'm always like the negative Nancy here. I feel like
You're going to be the negative Nancy?
Okay, what I will say is loved it because it was a callback to how all the female actors won a team up movie.
Yes.
But this didn't feel as organic as the scene in Infinity War when it was
Sure.
Okoye
Sure.
and Scarlet Witch and
Sure.
Black Widow.
Yes.
It was too forced in your face. She's got backup. And then it was like weirdly they were all together for some reason. I liked how organic the scene was in Infinity
Where it just
War.
was too, yeah. Okay.
And then one jumped in because she was close to the
Yeah.
battle. And I know it was fan service and it was like supposed to be like a fuck yeah
I am a
moment.
total whore for fan service, so I'm never going to be mad about
I like
that.
being the fan service.
Yeah. Also, it's been 11 years. If
Yeah.
you haven't earned enough, like, goodwill and currency in 11 years to, like, give your fans a little fan service, you've obviously have fucking failed.
Also, the scene was too short. I would have
Yeah.
loved like more the combination of powers and this one jumping off of this one's shoulder, this one, you know.
Well, what I did like about it is that there were so many Avengers at one point in that last scene, which I feel like we still need to talk about more.
we definitely did. We're gonna rewind back.
Yeah. At a certain point, like the first time we saw it, I didn't see certain people. So when they were
Right.
in the credits, I was like, where was he?
Yeah. And
Like,
he's
Winston Duke, I was like, where the fuck was M'Baku?
I did see M'Baku for a hot
And it
second.
wasn't until the second time I saw it where I was like, there he is.
Yeah, he was just, like,
Pete
ready.
Davidson. Yes, and he looks so hot because he's so hot.
He's always so
He's
hot.
just
but yeah, it
fucking
was
hot.
a lot of fun to
But-
go through there and comb through the scene
Yeah.
to find where
But the
everyone
great
Where's
thing
Waldo?
about that female Avenger scene was that we had a smaller group. I could see them all, if we're talking about being able to see the
Right,
entire
yeah.
scope of the entire scene and what's happening, especially like there's the part where it's like Scarlet Witch is handling some of the Chitauri centipedes or whatever they are, and then Valkyrie comes in. She's got a Pegasus. When did she get that shit back?
Yes.
I felt so bad for that Pegasus, by the way.
When did it
I
come
was
back?
like, this is like the least safe.
It's always the horses and the Pegasus.
It's a
that
war
dies.
horse, okay? It's a war horse. That's what it's made for, okay? And I just was like, it was such a great sequence that I just
It
honestly,
was.
And yeah, and like you're right that it felt very intentional,
Yeah.
but I liked that they were like showing like, hey, look, we know we
We've
have
paid
these women,
atten-
we know that we're gonna.
And do you think like Pepper earned
Yes!
being rescued?
You know what? Pepper fucking earned this. I said this is one thing that I was super right about. I was like, Pepper's gonna be in the rescue suit and she's gonna do some rescuing. Well, fine. Pepper's gonna be in a purple suit.
God,
Not
that's the actually guy from The Office.
Thank you, guy from the
Actually.
Actually, no.
Josh, he's coming for your
Fine.
title here.
Pepper's gonna be in her own little Iron Woman suit. I love that because, yeah, I mean, we've seen her like she did it in Iron Man 3 already.
Which was the worst part of
That,
that.
right, that
oh,
was
super
like-
chat.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Tom.
Wow.
Hello,
Hi.
hashtag ladies.
hello.
I know,
Hi, guy.
Peter's saying instant kill. Okay, wait, hold on. Before we go to
Hang
the
on,
act
hang on,
three
hang on.
of
But
the
are we still talking about? Okay, listen.
Act
I think
2, so the major points of Act 2
Yes.
were all the time.
yes.
They were jumping through
So time heist. Okay, so they all come back, and then they realize that like Matt
Wait,
is
what was your favorite? Which time heist was your favorite to revisit?
Tony and Cap.
Okay.
Um,
Oh.
No, I just like scenes where it's more. Listen, these movies haven't just taken the time to just have their characters talk to each other. Mm-hmm. And that scene with Tony and his dad.
Okay,
I
that's what
just
you're talking about. Yes, that was my favorite.
I
Yeah.
like, and then I do like the fact that we get America's ass out of that. So I like that point. Like, you know, I'm never going to be upset about that. As far as like, you know, because it's like Rhodey and Nebula or on Morag, it's like I like that team up, but doesn't really do anything
I
for
would
me.
have liked for Nebula to tell them beforehand that they were going to be up against Thanos in that time. Like
That
that was
is
so
true.
random. She gets there and she's like, yeah, we're not the only ones looking.
She messed up.
Thanos
there.
and me
Yeah.
are some of the people that are looking. And I
That
was like,
wasn't the time.
wait,
that
what?
wasn't the time.
and also, if you know that you are there, then why are you going there? That seems like that was a little weird. You know, I was like, that seems like a
and
bad
that's
idea.
that's not. I don't see that as a plot hole. I just see that as a
Hold
bad.
on. I want
Not
to
a
change my
plot
answer.
hole.
I'm going to change my
Yeah.
answer. I'm going to change my answer. I'm so happy to see Asgard again because I do miss Asgard.
No,
I know
because
you
we
don't
got to
like
see
Asgard.
Natalie Portman.
No,
so,
fuck
no.
Natalie Portman. I don't care about Natalie Portman. They did the right thing by just going ahead and getting her a body double to just act like Natalie Portman. Like, great. But
Wait,
it was
what?
actually Natalie Portman. It was
No,
Natalie Portman.
no.
It was.
Yes, it
No.
was.
Her name was in the credits.
It was definitely Natalie Portman, and she was
Okay.
at the premiere. Yeah.
if you go back and watch that scene again, the only time you actually see her face is when they go ahead and they, it's right over here. The camera's right there, and she opens up her eyes. But I'm like, that looks like just the shot from Dark World. That doesn't look like. And when she gets up, like literally, the whole thing is so blown out and backlit that it's hiding her face.
What is she doing that she can't film like?
I agree.
a one-day
No,
scene.
seriously. If it turns out that they just
Why?
had her come back and like,
Doesn't want to do.
Because Thor 2 didn't give her anything. She doesn't.
Right.
Yeah,
and
I
also, wasn't it
saw
because
that.
Patty was going to direct, she brought in Patty to direct Thor 2, and they, got rid of her, and they didn't want her idea, and they bring out whoever actually did it. And she was like, thanks for nothing.
yeah. No, I mean, if that is indeed her and not a body double, that's a dick move to just go ahead and
I mean, I
obscure
didn't know
her
that
face.
backstory, so maybe it was a body double. And of course,
Watch
you have
it
to get
again.
permission.
I'm pretty
when you
sure-
watch
I'm
it
pretty
again,
sure she
take a
did
look.
film.
I mean, I just
Yeah.
don't know if they just went ahead and included her because she herself is in
I mean,
the movie
this
technically.
technology in
but-
the MCU is amazing. Like, we don't know. The
Yeah.
de-aging software and all
Yeah.
this other nonsense.
I mean, because, she wasn't the only, well, yeah, I guess because of the obscuring of the face, but I don't know that they need to obscure her face. Like, since they were going to put her in the credits anyway,
Yeah.
they could have just,
just painted her face onto
digitally
a body
constructed her
double.
face,
Yeah,
exactly.
on
My
Keira
favorite-
Knightley.
I don't think
Like,
that
yeah.
I don't think that it was necessarily body double. Plus, there was plenty of other people.
Watch it
who just
again. If
showed
you
up.
watch it again, just take a look because
see how
honestly,
weird
when
it
I'm
is.
looking at it, I'm like, I'm not entirely sure she's actually
Right.
on a set somewhere. I just think it's someone who just has her body.
I found Hulk having to take the stairs hilarious, which was my favorite time heist part was the New York one. And he's like, Hulk don't like stairs.
I feel like this is a stat question just because it's like there's so much that happens in that New York mission because it's like mission on top of mission.
Yeah.
Because it's like Hulk and the Ancient One,
That's true.
Tony and Cap
I
against
think you
like
have to break that up.
And
Yeah.
Loki.
Yeah.
I don't. Do I have to figure that? Okay, I don't like the Ancient One Hulk stuff. I don't care.
You don't like it?
No.
I thought it was a nice callback because it was like you would be that person there.
It would-
Obviously, logically, I know you have to be there.
Right.
It's nice to know that logic
Yes.
rules the day, and yes, you are there.
Yes, that is nice.
Yeah,
But the
I like
scene
that,
itself,
but I didn't yeah.
like. I wasn't really.
And
that
I liked
invested in.
that we got some explanation for their version of time travel, even though I still confused. But
It's very. I do
Accepted it.
like that Hulk is just like either it's all a joke or none of it is a
Yeah.
joke, and it's like, yeah, all right, cool. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
to me, time travel is one of those things in movies where it's just like, well, how does this work? Time travel, and it's like,
Right. Like you can't.
Well, that's because directors don't want to get themselves into the pickle that this movie was kind of doing. And I think James Cameron has a good quote about this, but like they don't want to mention specific times and go.
Yeah.
There's a rule about time travel movies, what you shouldn't do, otherwise you're going to write yourself into a hole. And I wish I remembered it.
yeah,
But getting too specific will be a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be a problem for you, especially if you do sequels and,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
I really like you. I really loved Tony talking to his father. and I
loved
thought that was
it.
like such an important moment for him.
I loved
a moment
it.
of growth, and like when he hugged him.
thank you for your service for all you've done for this country.
Yeah, that was so beautiful.
your service.
So I
So
love
great.
that so much. But then I do actually love the Morai part just because we got to see Nebula from the present connect with Gamora from the past. And we get to see how Gamora still is herself, even though it's like many years back.
Yeah.
You know, there's still like when she sees the end goal, she's like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
That's
Well, even from the get go, we then find out midway through Guardians that, like, oh, you're only pretending to work
Right.
with Thanos because you've been kidnapped.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to find your moment to stop this fucking douchebag. Like, thank you. And it's nice to know that, like, she's like, all right, no, this is the moment.
Right. And then, but then it's like for Nebula with this like newfound awareness of herself to be able to connect with her sister that she couldn't have done in the past. You know, it took
Yeah.
them. So yeah.
I don't know. I think too much time was spent on retreading stuff we've already retreaded in a few movies. Like the Gamora, and I was gonna call him Nebula Gamora again. The whole Gamora and Nebula drama, and the whole Nebula drama in itself, where it's like, oh my God, I was this person before and I'm so torn and da 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 da. And I know the whole point of that was because we need to get Thanos to know about the plan.
Sure.
And we need a right around for Gamora to possibly be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I know that was the whole reason for that DE plot. But I think too much time was spent on it throughout the whole film.
I think it was a nice inversion just because in the Guardians movies, it's always Gamora trying to appeal to Nebula's humanity. And in this one, it's actually Nebula trying to appeal to Nebula's humanity and then trying to appeal to Gamora's humanity and actually say, like, I just need you to just trust me on this and, like, believe me that we're past this shit. There is a lot. And then that whole, you know, skip around a little bit when Nebula actually kills her younger self. I felt like that was the only thing that was like, oh, we're really going to be on the nose about this, about you killing your old self.
But what does that
true,
do? Is that a plot hole? Her killing?
No, because regardless,
Herself?
younger Nebula would have still been
she's still, like,
dusted.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's another question, too. Like, they dusted Thanos and Nebula in 2014.
Yes.
Yet, time still passed as if that had not been dusted. So how does that happen? How
I
are
don't
they
know.
Schrodinger's catting this? Alternate timelines. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. There has to be alternate timelines.
Listen,
timelines.
Joe Russo already has. Listen, Joe Russo already has like interviews set up. I just saw like some kind of like post on Instagram about how like somebody, no, real Joe Russo, the actual Joe Russo is gonna be doing, because you know he's got that restaurant, so now he's gonna be just doing all of his interviews from there from now on. But yeah, they're like, we're gonna ask him all the things about Endgame. I'm like, please do, because I have some fucking questions
got
as
some
well.
questions.
I just think it's not impossible for all these things to have happened
In the same timeline.
But for us to go ahead and get to the point of like having every single answer, and you know, I don't know if we're going to get to that point. I don't know if he's even going to say it. Maybe he's just going to be like,
It's space
time
magic.
travel,
Yeah.
space magic.
Tom
Ta-da!
Craven wants to know how many times we cried. I think we kind of said it, but
I just started crying and didn't stop.
I don't know.
No, I
Three-
cried
two to three times.
yeah, it's like
6 times.
right. I
like,
teared up. I teared up from the very beginning when, not the very beginning, but when he's giving the message to Pepper.
Mm-hmm.
I teared up there, and then I cried a little bit.
You did. You were like from the get-go. I was like, oh, this is what's going to happen here right next to me.
I'm sorry, I have feelings.
Sorry, Migdalia.
She's like, oh,
I'm so sorry, Migdalia.
don't have feelings
that
here.
our tear ducts work. So sorry.
I'm sorry.
And then I teared
I
up.
came from the same assembly line as Joe.
Same assembly line as Joe. Oh.
When Nat died. Mm-hmm. And then once Pepper told Tony that he could rest, from there to the end of the movie,
Oh my God,
just
that line
fucking-
broke me.
Yeah.
I was crying from the moment that, if we're talking about that third act,
Yeah.
from the moment that Sam says on your left.
Are you gonna cry again
which
talking about
you're
it? I see
gonna
that this is
get
happening.
to.
And can we go ahead and realize that the first people to appear on that battlefield with Steve is Wakanda and
Yes.
Sam? And I was like, those are exactly the people you bring through. Holy shit, I'm so happy. And like literally not just sad, but just happy tears. And then to see everybody else pop up and to everybody have their hero shot and their moment, I was just so happy. Like you don't just cry, or at least I didn't just cry just because it was a sad moment. Like there are
Right.
just legit, overwhelming, fuck yeah moments where I'm just so happy that I just have to cry because something in here has shorted and the tears have just decided to exit my eyes. And yeah.
So what was the best entrance? Thor's Infinity War entrance or On Your Left?
On your left.
On your left.
On your
Yeah.
left, because it took its fucking time, and the score. I noticed every fucking thing that Alan Silvestri did in that moment, and it was amazing. And then the fact that it all builds up to like just this fucking crescendo, and it just goes quiet, and all you hear is assemble, and it's like fuck yeah, and like literally every theater except for the one that we all were in. Every single one has just
That's why I want
erupted.
to go opening weekend. I
Has
need
just
crowd
erupted.
reaction.
You really do. Like I strongly urge. Listen,
All these little portals started opening up,
Yes.
and you saw that. the
and
entirety
what I
of
love about
Wakanda,
it too
and-
is that it's not just the heroes, but it's like all these other people that obviously would be there, like the
Right.
other wizards, other Asgardian knights
Yeah,
were there,
that was
like
really
other
cool.
like the Jabari and other Wakandans are there. Like it's like
because
yes,
it wasn't just the people who got snapped.
yes,
Right.
There were people got picked up along the
Yeah.
way. Of
Yes.
the portal.
I would love, like, just like some, you know, like deleted scene of how they gather their forces in that amount of
we
time.
don't need
I know
that.
we're not gonna ever see
I don't
it.
need it.
Like in an alternate world, you
yeah.
know? Like it obviously doesn't
Just
exist.
got more pixie sticks.
But
Who was your favorite entrance?
exactly.
Thank you.
Here,
I
have
do.
some fun, Dick.
Thank you. I do love
Because
the
I just think
on
it's kind
your
of funny that
left.
it took it was like 30 minutes, and they're like, all right, let's go fucking fight Thanos.
Yeah, for real. It was like, wow, what's gonna happen? They're being really beaten down here. I mean, again, and of course we were in the crappy theater, but I'm not gonna forget that reaction of Thor and Groot and Rocket Raccoon popping up in Wakanda after Thor's get a super thundery thing. But there was a lot of emotional resonance to the On Your Left, and it's a callback to Winter Soldier and him and Sam's rapport, which is great. And I will have to say about Sam, I don't know if we're gonna jump all the way to that. Let's finish with Act 3, right?
Yeah, let's finish
The
with Act
battle.
3.
Okay.
Yeah, so no, I loved the battle. I loved talking about how menacing Thanos was. I thought every single time that Steve and Thanos were together, I was like, this is it. This is where Steve dies. Steve Rogers is fucking dead.
Yeah.
I seriously thought
Y'all
that
had it out for Steve.
How immortal is he?
he's not immortal. He's not
Because he
immortal.
gets, I mean, of course, you know, if you get punched in the face by a giant monster, you're gonna die from brain trauma. But like,
No.
how much of a beating can he really take?
Well, if you notice, whenever he's like at that moment where he thinks he's on his own,
Right.
and he's like, and he goes ahead and he pulls on that strap, his arm is literally his suit has split open. His arm, I think you can actually see down to the bone.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he literally straps the tighter just so that way, you know, his arm just isn't in fucking pain.
Oh, I forgot about the Collins.
So yeah. Are we still doing call-ins? Yeah, are we still doing
Yeah,
call-ins?
in 10 minutes we'll do 15 minutes of Collins, and then
Yeah.
we'll end it at 11.
You said we were doing call-ins. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was a great moment.
Blackwing wants to call in.
Tell them that hashtag show on Skype.
Hashtag show or hashtag show?
That's the name of the show.
Yeah, guys,
But
so
is that the name on Skype? That hashtag show? Okay.
Yeah, that was an epic ass battle.
I loved it. I thought it was
I
great.
don't know how to expand on that thought. I mean, of course, with Tony. Oh, yes, with Tony.
So let's
That's
talk
an
about that.
important
So the reason why Doctor Strange didn't want him to die in Infinity War was because that wasn't his time to go. He
Yeah.
couldn't die there. Otherwise, they would have been fucked. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no going
Which-
back and undoing
Which,
that.
like, I think was evident at the end of Infinity War. Like, well, you know, when that happened, I was like, okay, well, Tony's gonna be the one to make the sacrifice, right? But then everyone was so set on Cap being the one to die,
Right.
that it's like I forgot that Tony was clearly set for death. But then it happened. And it was like, you know, like yes, like of course it has to be Tony, right?
Yeah.
He's the one who has everything
That's
right
the
now.
one way.
Yeah.
He's the one who has to who started off like the most egotistical or whatever, you know, and then became the selfless.
Well, it's a
hero that he
callback
is.
to Avengers when Steve is goading him as like, you're not the guy to make the sacrifice play. And he's been trying to constantly prove himself otherwise. And like, what better way? Like, every play has not been the sacrifice play until this moment, where it's like, if you go ahead and you become the guy who saves the entire world, because. And the last line, for him to just go ahead and look him straight in the fucking eye and say, I am Iron Man.
That's so good.
Was amazing. And I also love the fact that, you know, he was the one making weapons to protect America's interests, and he was the weapon to protect America's interests, like to
The
save
world.
the world.
The world's interest, yeah.
You
Aw.
know, that was,
No, it needed to be him.
and
I'm-
we've guessed it too, but when it actually happened, it's a
I was
whole different
surprised.
bug.
I honestly didn't.
How it happened,
I
yes.
Right.
didn't think he was going to die.
Hold
I
on,
thought he
Blackwing.
would have been incapacitated. He would have been paralyzed. He would have just been the guy to just become the consultant. That's what I thought he was going to be.
Interesting.
But
That
there was no throwaway
that
line
RDJ was going to be the guy that would just pop up in future MCU movies every so
Yeah.
often. That's what I
And we
honestly
talked
thought.
about that
To
Yeah.
be fair,
ago.
that could still happen.
Yeah.
Because there's like
only in
AI
between-
Tony,
Yeah.
or billions of video messages that he could
Yeah.
have made.
Yeah.
Hologram Tony, that would have
Yeah.
been great.
Exactly.
AI
So
Tony would be good too.
I
For Peter.
didn't think they were going to take it that point. I was like, if you're just trying to, if Steve Rogers is still alive, then why would you kill Tony Stark? When it happened, I'm like, this feels right. It makes sense, but it was still a surprise to me.
But there was a reason why they were talking about the gamma radiation of doing the snap, and it wasn't, as you can see in hindsight, it wasn't just because Bruce would be the one to do it. They said this would kill a human.
Yeah.
So that was another clue as
Yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm. No, it all plays and it feels right. It feels like the nice conclusion to the Tony Stark story, which is the entire MCU story, if you think about it.
I didn't see it coming though. I didn't see him having it. Like I thought
I didn't think they were
going to
have
happen again.
I didn't think they were going to have the balls to do it. I honestly didn't think. I was like, "There's no way you're letting go to RDJ. Fuck you. You're not doing
I thought
that."
he stole the glove, but I didn't think he was going to snap it.
He's been carrying the MCU on his back for 11 years.
Yeah.
He was like, let
And
me
he's
put it
getting
down.
residuals
Let me
off the
put it
future.
down.
For sure. But yeah, do you think it was a good move killing off Iron Man?
Yeah.
What?
Yes, I think that was a good ending point for his story. I felt like he had come as far as he was going to. Any more movies just risk be like, oh, I guess I'm divorcing
But
Pepper.
even even to sacrifice him from like Spider-Man.
Here's
Far
the thing.
From Home, which I'm gonna really
Here's the
miss
thing.
him in.
That is a wide, massive shadow that man casts.
Yes.
Now that he's gone, the MCU as a franchise now has to look for other people to fill those shoes.
Who's the
And
new
that's
artist?
It's not going to be
Brie Larson.
one person. Well, no, it's not going to be one person.
Right.
You're going to be going to Shuri. You're going to be looking at possibly introducing a Riri Williams or introducing other characters that fulfill the role of the super genius, of the super rich like Black Panther. You're going to be looking for other people to fulfill those kind of functions within the MCU. If he's still there, all you're ever going to do is be like, why can't we call Tony Stark?
Yeah, he'll be the crutch. He'd be the crutch.
Exactly. But if you go ahead and remove him completely, the way that you've also removed some of these other characters, it's like, who do we get now to step in their place?
Right.
Because that is the thing, too. How does the MCU move forward? Well, in order for it to move forward, you have to remove players from the board. You just have to. Otherwise, the question that we're always going to be talking about is, why didn't they just call him Tony Stark? He's chilling in, wherever the hell, his little rustic cabin somewhere. Why didn't they call Steve Rogers? He's chilling somewhere, apparently living the life with Peggy Carter. We're always going to be asking those questions. But if they're just not there, we can't ask those questions, which I think is brilliant.
It makes sense, yeah.
We have to love the reunion between Tony and Peter.
That was very
and the goodbye between Tony and
God.
Peter. And where Tony just couldn't say anything. He didn't have a chance to say goodbye.
Yeah. He was like,
Except in the hologram, I guess, but personally.
that was so sweet, yeah.
It was really,
When he's like, what are you doing? And he hugged him and he's like, oh,
this is
It
nice.
sucks for Peter because he essentially lost his third father figure in how many years? Like, let's say a span of 5 years.
This will be his
Third?
real Uncle Ben, right?
His actual father.
True.
Uncle
Okay,
Ben,
yes.
His
and
actual father.
I have a question. Does he remember his actual father? Because
I don't know how they're.
we never addressed.
But
What?
he's gone. His father's
dead.
I'm just saying,
As far as he
MCU Peter
knows.
Parker, we didn't ever get to see at what point he lost his parents. So
Sure.
is he actually old
Is
enough
it
to
Andrew
remember?
Garfield style or
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire style?
Exactly. Like,
And they might be the same style.
Do you think Spider-Man Far From Home might mention Gwen Stacy? I hope not. Leave Gwen Stacy for Miles.
What? No,
Yeah.
we're not getting off topic
Yeah.
here. We have a lot more
Let's-
to talk
yeah.
about.
can we talk briefly about Captain Mjolnir? Captain Meow Meow.
Captain
Mew
Meow Meow,
Mew.
okay.
Oh my God! Okay, I thought that hammer was going to Captain Marvel. Actually,
Oh,
Really?
when it went to Captain America.
yeah.
Okay. So
was a
I'm
good
so glad that I
callback.
saw it with you guys the first time around and I got to hear Thor say, I knew it.
Yeah.
Because I
Yes.
fucking lost it. Because literally every other viewing
Yeah.
I've seen, the crowd
can't
has
hear
just
it.
been going so fucking crazy that they don't hear Thor say, I knew it.
No.
And that was like, because we all knew what the fuck
Well, it's got a
happened in
shield and a
Ultron.
hammer.
We all knew what
Right.
happened. And I'm so glad that they finally confirmed it. And they're like, of course he's worthy.
Super worthy.
Vision was worthy.
Well, yeah, because Vision was worthy. Oh,
Poor Vision.
R.I.P.
Poor Vision.
Poor
Rest
Vision.
in peace. And I like the fact that they didn't try to retcon all that. Those deaths seemed to be permanent, except for Gamora.
So if you go back and watch Infinity War after watching Endgame, Infinity War plays a lot different.
It's tough watching the entire MCU knowing where we.
Yeah.
I can't watch Iron Man.
Go
1
back
the
and watch
same
Iron
again.
Man. Yeah, no, it's rough. It's like, oh.
Like I gotta give myself another month. But let me tell you how Thor better be in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yes.
Guardians.
As
Wait, do we
Guardians.
want to go there to the very end, or do we want to talk about the funeral?
Oh, the funeral where the Wakandians are like the best dressed motherfuckers.
That's how I wish I looked at a funeral, but it's not.
They were just like so regal. I need that outfit. Okay, I'm done.
But yeah, it was really nice
Did you
to
like
see,
the
like,
funeral?
everyone
Did
that
you
he's
like
affected.
it? Did you feel like it was?
I'm trying to think if there was probably a better burial spot, but I guess not because that's where he created his family. Where else would they? New York is so impersonal.
Yeah.
Malibu is impersonal for him.
Malibu's destroyed. The Avengers Tower it was sold to whoever. It's now the Baxter Building,
Those
according
were
to
like
our
his
fan
best years.
theories.
Were there,
Yeah,
you know?
the Avengers compound no longer there, destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where he made his family. But if you guys missed it, I recognized this teenager standing there. And I was like, is that the kid from Iron Man 3?
It's Ty Simpkins
Is it?
from
Yeah.
Iron Man
Yeah.
3 who plays Harley.
Yep.
And it's so, okay, listen, we haven't seen him since he was little and cute, all right? So to see him now as
Like
less
grown
cute and
man.
adolescent,
Less
like,
cute.
well, no, he's still cute, but in that sort of like, oh, you're on the Disney Channel kind of way. Like, I honestly was like, who the fuck was that? And like, yeah, if you go up, he's a listed member of the cast. Like, it's Ty Simpkins. It's the same guy.
Yeah, it was really nice to see everyone that had been in some way affected, you know, like all there gathered.
I did like it. I just wish we had had something similar for Nat.
Exactly. I wanted to have, you know.
What I don't have a whole lot of grievances with this movie. If I had to go ahead and be like, why the fuck would you not do this? I really hope there's something in the deleted scenes somewhere.
Like it could have been for both of them.
Yeah. Like, if you were going to have, like, there was a video for Tony, but then you could have had, like, Hawkeye
Something.
also,
Could it-
you know?
Could it have been for both of them, and maybe it just didn't read in the moment?
Yeah, it could have been, but that's what I'd be
I
like,
don't know if
it would
something
have been
was
nice to have
specific to
Hawkeye, like,
Tony.
say some words. Like, you
Yeah.
have Tony, it's Tony's video, so you know it's Tony's funeral.
Right.
But then he could also have been like, Nat was blah, 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 and she and Tony, blah, blah, blah.
I just
You
feel
know?
like if
And
you've
then-
got 11 years of anticipation behind this, go ahead and take the Return of the King length
Yeah.
of like endings. Like, go ahead, take the victory lap. Go
Right.
ahead and just like give us about 4 or 5 different endings. I'm not going to be mad if you give us another funeral.
Yeah.
If you go ahead and decide like, yeah, let's go ahead and have a nice little gravestone at the Barton farm or
Right. Yeah, that would
where else
at the
would you?
very-
Yeah,
just at the very least panic,
something,
'cause we
anything,
saw him with his family,
or
so,
even
you
just
know.
to say like, hey, like Nat's gone. How do you break that news to your family? Like, yeah, Auntie Nat is gone. Like
that's true.
forever. We don't even have a body to bury.
Right.
Like it's just here we are.
Yeah.
And
But it's interesting that they kind of did away with 3 of the de facto leaders of the Avengers,
Yeah.
and Thor is off.
can we
with-
talk about that ending now? Captain
Yeah,
America.
we'll
Okay,
definitely
I'm
hit that up. But it's
Okay.
just like they're moving from Earth's mightiest heroes to space mightiest heroes. And
Correct.
they're setting that whole thing up because now on Earth it's just the Hulk, and he's kind of just doing his own thing. He's not really
You still-
trying to go out there to save
No.
the world.
Not Korg. Korg's there.
Get Korg's there.
He's in Norway.
Yeah, he's in Norway.
I guess that's still
and
on Earth,
technically
but
there's
Listen.
Hawkeye and,
Listen.
and the new ones.
The point is that we all need to be
I
at
think
D23
Hawkeye's gonna
this
be
year.
Family
We
Guy
all
again.
need to be at that live action panel. We all need to hear what the plan is
True.
for Phase 4.
Well, he said it's Falcon and
Yeah, Falcon, that's right. Of course.
and Winter Soldier.
Yes,
That's
no,
for the TV show.
but
yeah,
I'm
the
talking
show.
about for MCU, like because they haven't announced shit
Yeah,
past.
because Black Widow is going to film this summer.
Yes.
It's not going to be ready at least till earliest end of the next year.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like that's probably going to be a prequel.
There's gonna
Like,
be a gap.
Well,
you
we know the
that's-
Eternals is going to be in Phase 4, right?
Yeah.
And we know.
Are we getting Black Panther
Doctor
2?
Strange 2?
Are we getting
Black
Guardians
Panther
of the
2?
Galaxy 3? Are we
Yes.
getting
As Guardians of the Galaxy.
as
3.
Guardians of the
Yes.
Galaxy
It's going to be
3?
about a year where we're not going to get a
year
Marvel
gap.
film.
That's fine because we got the
It's all
the
Disney-
streaming.
It's all the Disney Plus stuff.
Okay,
Right.
that's-
Which is selling me on the Falcon Winter Soldier movie sold me to get the subscription service.
Yeah.
$6.99 sold me.
Yeah.
You're like
It's like we're getting Shang-Chi, we're getting like, but who else are we getting then at that point? We have to start introducing
Scarlet
new
Vision,
characters.
Scarlet Vision.
Doctor Strange 2.
WandaVision.
But again, not a new
WandaVision.
character. Who's the new guy other than Shang-Chi? Like, who else are we getting? Like,
The Eternals, I guess?
Many.
yeah, it's like,
Ghost Rider.
All right, let's cap this ass. Cap this ass.
okay, so Captain America.
Yes,
The ending.
America's ass.
America's that. So Captain America then goes on the last little quantum mission to return
All the
every
stones.
single stone back to their original point. Which again still freaks me out that he has to go to Vormir and go face to face with the Red Skull and just
Why
be
does
like,
that
all right,
freak
bye.
you out?
Because
I don't
it's
think he
like
cares
that's a scene I
anymore.
want to
That
see,
was 80
man.
years ago.
Captain America showing up in Asgard.
Again, things I want to see.
Captain America pulls out
See-
another locket. It's got Red Skull's face.
That
in
should
it.
have. That should have
Again,
been the
things
credits.
I'd like to. Well, honestly, my biggest MCU regret is that we never got Tony Stark in Asgard because I think that would have just been
Oh, that would've
absolutely
been
hilarious.
interesting. Yeah.
But after that point, he doesn't come back, and
Oh,
oh no,
We've been called.
Who is? Who is it?
Oh, okay. We're just hanging up on people.
Oh, we didn't say it yet. We didn't
Okay.
say go yet.
Yeah. So at the end, it turns out that
You said go?
oh,
She's in the middle of a thought.
sorry. It was her, not me. No, so at the end, Captain America has decided to stay back in the past, live a life that we assume by the last scene means that he stayed with Peggy sometime in the 1940s based upon the clothes, car, and music of that last scene. That seems to be a little shaky in the timeline. Not impossible, but shaky. Yeah.
Clearly multiple
timeline, yes. So
It's fine. Also, I'm
But
not gonna
before
lie.
we
As
start-
much as I'm a shipper of Peggy and Steve, I'm also a shipper of Peggy and that dude from Agent Carter.
They
so
were
I'm
cute.
like, in this
They were
timeline, she
cute.
definitely married dude from Agent Carter. guy with the
Agent
limp.
Sousa.
Agent
Time's
Sousa,
running
yes.
out. Let's move
Okay.
on.
Anyways, listen. So before we get to the timeline implications and whatnot, I want to talk about what happens at the end of that conversation, which is Sam Wilson is now officially the new Captain America. The
Yes.
Falcon is now Captain America.
Yes.
Captain America is now a black man, which I cannot be happier about.
Yes.
So, thoughts,
This is poignant.
feelings.
This is poignant for two reasons. One, people were expecting it to be Bucky.
Yeah,
But
totally.
They are
Steve's-
wrong. He can't be Captain America. He's a Wakandan citizen now.
Will the TV show have him as Cap?
We'll
Yes.
see that.
They'll change
But
the name.
I'm
Bucky
convinced
is,
that that will be the name change.
Bucky is Steve's best friend, and I think this is just like a powerful move and a powerful image for the audience out there, for little black boys out there to see that
Yep.
America's apple pie basically gave the mantle of
Yeah.
Captain America to a black man, and,
Yeah.
huh?
And Valkyrie's the new Thor. Yeah.
And Valkyrie is the new Thor.
The new queen of it. Yeah, there were two black monarchs in the MCU now,
And
which
it,
I'm
and
very
it
happy
does
about.
make sense in the context of the story because Sam basically will die for Cap.
Yeah.
Sam has been there during Cap's biggest moments and biggest I need you on my side type
Yep.
situations where sure Bucky was too in his past, but Bucky is kind of just on the surface his best friend, something that's more so ingrained with you than
Somebody,
earned? I don't know.
Well, I had a friend actually call, and what I've loved about this opening weekend is that I've had friends from everywhere call me up just wanting to talk about this movie, which is great. But I had a really long conversation with a friend of mine, and when I brought that up of I honestly thought it was going to be Bucky too, and he's like, well, no, because even though his name would have been cleared, after the events of Civil War,
Yeah.
the majority of the world is still going to look at Bucky Barnes as a terrorist.
Right.
Captain America needs to be someone who can unite everybody, inspire everybody, and uplift everybody, and that's not going to be Bucky Barnes. That's
Yeah.
going to be Sam Wilson.
Yeah. Plus, Bucky just is on his own path now.
Yeah.
He was.
But I don't want that to be the reason. I think that's more of a cop-out kind of reason.
No, but I was just like,
But it does
honestly,
make
but no,
sense.
just on a logical when
Right.
talking about it as if I'm a writer,
Yeah.
I don't know if my first instinct would have been to give it immediately over to Sam, or you know what I mean? Because I honestly thought it was going to be Bucky because that's what the comics did. They gave it to Bucky Barnes first, and then after the fact, they gave it to Sam Wilson. Sam Wilson was actually after Bucky, so to know that they just went ahead and just start. Where are you going?
She's gonna pee. She's gonna pee.
Well, what did you do? Oh God.
And the apple cider.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
Talking longer than the actual movie.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Don't be having liars.
I did.
I'm
expect-
sorry that we want to talk about a movie. God, on a
I
show
did
about
expect it to be
movies.
Sam,
Yeah.
but I guess I didn't expect it to happen in the movie.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I expected that
Yeah.
next, eventually you would see Sam as Captain America.
I didn't think we're going to get Old Man Rogers. That
Yeah,
was a
that was a nice
complete
callback, too.
surprise,
Yeah, I
which is
love
nice
that.
if you've been reading the comics to ever see, because there have been various comics and one-offs and alternate versions where
Yeah.
Old Man Rogers does come around, and I think there's one storyline where he loses the super soldier serum and he actually ages to his
Yeah.
actual age, which is pretty fucking old. So I think that it was a surprise and it caught me off guard, and realizing what that would mean for the future of the MCU made me cry all over again. So yeah, I definitely did love it, but it
Yeah.
was unexpected.
Blackwing wants to know when he can call in. Okay,
Call in
do it
now,
Do
dude.
it now,
Let's
Bobby.
go.
Wait, who's controlling the Skype?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It should pop up again because she just hung up on him that way. I was gonna say that I do think that maybe it was a little odd that we didn't get more of a conversation for Bucky and Steve. He could have been in that scene with them.
Again, I
But-
think
5-hour cut.
But the silence.
Yes,
the
give me
silent
the 5-hour
moment-
cut.
The silent moment of him knowing he wasn't coming back.
yeah.
I thought that did show the bond that they had.
I think there was an understanding of if you can go back, and if knowing that and I agree. There probably was in that epilogue a moment where I needed a moment. Like, okay, for example,
Let's do this. Video.
oh, hello?
Hello.
Good evening / good morning, ladies.
Good evening, good morning.
Oh my gosh. First off, I feel like a trooper being able to stay up and listen to you guys talk about this. This movie just this movie just filled me up with a lot of just tears from upset and everything. This movie was just brilliant, just straight up brilliant. And I just felt like a proud comic book fan just to be part of this from back 2008. I was just so young watching Iron Man with my family all the way to End Game, thinking we wouldn't get something like this ever. Well, then again, Avengers was just like the starting point, and then once we got to here, it's just like, oh my god, look how far we came. It's just, I'm just so happy to be a comic book fan and be part of this franchise. It's just, I love Marvel, and I love DC.
He loves Marvel.
Yeah, me too. Yay!
Yeah, they've really done something amazing here. You know, like to keep it a cohesive story for a generation of fans to love.
Thanks, Batsusi. Good night.
Bye, Batusi.
Batusi. Susi.
Batusi.
Why did I get Susi from?
That's Blackwing.
No, but
No,
but
Batusi
Batusi in the
kidding.
chat is saying good
Okay,
night.
I was like, what's happening?
Sorry,
Black-
that's very weird.
Do you have a question, or is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, Blackwing?
I just feel like I was asking myself this question when I got up to where do we go next? But of course I was thinking maybe possibly we could get a Secret Invasions, maybe we could get a Secret Wars, maybe we could get, an Avengers versus X-Men film. There's a wide variety of, maybe we can even get like a big build-up to Galactus, maybe just a wide variety of possibilities that can happen.
That's interesting you say Secret Invasions because that was a fan theory. Like the Skrulls would be making an appearance in Endgame, posing as the Avengers or something.
Yeah, a lot of people were thinking that maybe Captain America would be a Skrull or something. Yeah.
I think with Time Jump, where we are 5 years later, we are on track for Young Avengers. We are on track for Cassie Lang, for Miss Marvel, for Squirrel Girl, for all those younger heroes to
And then
actually
all
show
the
up.
older will move to the streaming service.
Or I just think that if we are effectively in 2024, where the MCU has left, like we are in 2024. So now Cassie Lang is now like what she's supposed to be like
She's probably
14,
like
15 at that
in this
point,
movie.
and depending
Yeah.
on where they set the future films, she'll be within the age range,
Yeah,
which
that's true.
means that the rest of the kids that are supposed to be around that age group are going to be of an age where they can now become, where they,
Monica.
Spider-Man, he's right there in that age group too now, even though because he was gone and now just back.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
It's just still the same age.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's probably
So-
senior year when we go to Far From Home, so
Yeah.
he'll be 18
That's why
soon.
they hide the year on the passport.
Yeah.
On the trailer.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, but I'm
Because-
just saying that like so that's where I feel like it's going.
I had a theory of how they could pull off Secret Invasion, like how in Captain Marvel, these were like, good, kind-hearted Skrulls. This was before, Queen Morangi showed up. I'm thinking years past, Queen Morangi's now the Skrull Empire. She decides, alright, okay, let's invade Earth. Let's start our, infiltration. And
That makes sense. Yeah. To picture like those were the nice squirrels and now
Oh, hi,
these are,
Jezzer.
like, mad scrolls.
Oh,
How you
Jester's
doing,
freaking
Jess?
arm is in the way.
Yeah.
His whole
Sorry.
body
He's
is
trying
in
to
the way.
make you louder. He's trying to make you louder.
I don't know why.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in, Blackwing.
No problem. And if you could probably speak to you guys, ladies, once, because I feel like I've always been talking to the guys. But I appreciate
What's wrong with the guys, Black?
Because the guys suck. That's why.
Exactly.
The guys can get
Thanks
wrecked.
We
for
have
chatting with
intellectual
us.
thoughts.
Yeah.
What's wrong with
Even
the
if we
guys,
don't
Black
agree
Wing?
with each other about Olivia and Fitz.
I got to rewatch it then because I'm sorry.
You say you love love.
I love love.
That wasn't love.
And Olivia
That
Davis
was
is not love. Would
All
you
right.
agree, Blackwing?
No.
a great night.
You
Bye.
too.
Bye,
Bye.
sweetie. Mwah. How do we hang up on him?
Damn.
Oh, he
All
did.
right.
We're
well,
like,
Justin
we're
wants
like
to end
we
the
have
show.
intellectual thoughts, but we don't know how to use Skype.
I'll use this. All right, guys. So obviously we love the movie. We love that you were here to chat with us about
Yes.
the film.
Thank you guys.
Gonna go see it several more other times. Be sure to check us out on that #show.com. We have a lot of Avengers Endgame articles coming out there, out of the woodwork theories speculations,
Exactly. Lists, thoughts, questions, concerns.
thoughts, questions, and concerns. You can drop them in the box. And also, we do have a Facebook group, not to chat about the film quite yet, at least a spoiler version, but it is called THS Hashtaggers, so please don't be that person and spoil
You
the
will be
film.
kicked off. You will be deleted. Like,
You will be snapped.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so again, please like and share and subscribe to keep up to date with everything trending
in
geek pop culture.
Happy Thanksgiving.